Games, brains, and a head-banging life. It's time for an in-depth look at a franchise. And we are taking a deep dive into the Hellraiser film franchise, where there are currently 10 movies overall. Beginning in 1987 with Hellraiser, followed up in 1988 by Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Followed in 1992 by Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. And 1996, Hellraiser Bloodline. We then entered the noughties with Hellraiser Inferno, followed by 2002, Hellseeker. Then twice in 2005, Deader and Hell World. Yes, those are titles that actually existed.
Yep.
Before we then had a long gap all the way to 2011 before Hellraiser Revelations showed up. Then we had an even longer gap to be followed up with Hellraiser Judgment in 2018. And that is currently where the franchise sits. Although, if rumours persist, we are due a remake at some point in the next couple of years. How we feel about that?
No. Just leave it alone.
I agree. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Just stop. Leave Hellraiser alone. It's done. I don't even see what the point of restarting the franchise is. Continuing where we left off with Judgment. Don't really see the urge. I don't think there's a desire out there beyond people who go, oh, I liked that when I was younger, and forget that there are more bad than good films in this franchise, you know? But of course, based on the novella, The Hellbound Heart by the English author Clive Barker, one of the most imaginative horror, thriller, gory, a number of things, writers that exist. I am a big fan of his. It isn't always great. He doesn't always write great books. But when he does, he absolutely fucking nails it. Yep. And a lot of his work has been adapted, and it's hit and miss. I think I like The Midnight Meat Train. I think that's a good adaptation of a short story.
Yeah.
I do quite enjoy that. The Book of Blood, which is a sort of drawn-out version of what is ultimately an intro and an outro of a story, is hard work. What else we got? Candyman, of course.
What was that based?
Sweets for the Sweet, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's what the title of the short story is called, but Candyman was a short story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So obviously Candyman is an iconic adaptation of it, and obviously Hellraiser for the Hellbound Heart. He wrote and directed the original movie, the adaptation of his own story. So that's why that stands up. However, that was basically it for him in regard to the movies. Barker has stated that he signed away the story and character rights to the production company before the first film, not realising what a great success it would be.
Oh.
Ouchies.
Yeah, should have held on to it.
There are many stories of that throughout the years. Someone who owned a share or part of Apple sold it for fuck all money back in the day and stuff like that. And you're like, ooh, but you could never have known.
Get out of it.
Yeah. The series storyline focuses on a puzzle box that opens a gateway to a hell-like realm of the Cenobites, an order of former human monsters who harvest human souls to torture in sadistic experiments. Pain and pleasure, baby. The main antagonist of the series being Pinhead, played in 8 out of 10 of the movies by Doug Bradley. Obviously one of the most iconic horror movie characters you'll ever see. Everybody knows him. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him.
So like I said, if you see a poster of horror icons, he's there front and centre, you know?
He is front and centre, no question. So, our thoughts on the franchise as a whole overall. That's what we'll start with. Franchise overall.
Overall, it's the first 2 films, really strong, and then it just starts to chip away at the strength of it, the legitimacy of it, and then finishing on Judgment, not a bad way to finish. I feel like it's come full circle and it come back to its dark roots with it. Different ideas.
I think I kind of disagree with you.
Okay.
I think it's peaks and valleys. And I think it's peak at the start. Then we have this absolute gut-churning roller coaster drop into the third film. I think we start to climb back up with Inferno.
Yep.
I think then Hellseeker has some... sorry, not Inferno, Bloodline. And then Inferno continues that upward trend.
Yeah.
And then we start to drop again with Hellseeker. And then we're fucking flying down that roller coaster, top of our speed into the depths of hell, as it were, for Deader, Hell World. and Revelations. And, you know, the last, we begin to climb back up towards the end with Judgment, and you just desperately get off the fucking ride at that point because you've had enough. You've thrown up in that last massive drop with Dead and thing. That's the best way I can do it. But we have reviewed all of these over on the site. But here's the thing. Not by me. Obviously, I'm one of the writers for the site, Carl. I didn't write any of the Hellraiser reviews. They've all been written by Liam. And obviously, he's not here. Yep. He's not you. So he had a very different opinion of movies. Now, we're not going to run you through them, but I am going to tell you the scores. What he gave as the overall score to give you an idea, particularly when we start touching on the movies, whether or not we agree. So, in order from worst to best, Hellraiser Revelations, 2 out of 10. Hellraiser, what was that? 8. Hellworld. Hellraiser Hellworld, 3 out of 10. Deader, 5 out of 10. I've got to say, he's pretty bang on. Like, I think he's way too generous with Deader.
Yeah, man.
But I think he's pretty bang on with the order of the worst there. Bloodline, 5.5 out of 10. Judgment, 6 out of 10. Hell on Earth, 6 out of 10. What? Hellseeker, 6.5 out of 10. I think that's pretty fair.
Yep.
Hellraiser, 8 out of 10. Hellraiser Inferno, 8.5 out of 10. All right, we'll talk it. When we get to that, we'll talk that through.
Oh, I've kind of lost track of which one Inferno was.
And last but not least, of course, it is Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, 9 out of 10. Can't argue with that particular one. It's a bit of a funny one seeing Thingy so high up there, Inferno. But we'll get to it as we talk it through and go from there. You've kind of forgotten the details of it.
Corrupt cop. They popped up a lot.
But yeah, that's its story. And we actually, if you remember, we really liked it when we realised that actually ultimately he's living the crimes he did.
Not one with Kirsty. Yes.
We should point out that we watched these movies back to back in over a couple of days in November 2020, and it is February 2021. We're sitting down to talk about these. We did actually try this once before, but the recording got corrupted and fucked up, wasting hours of work. So we're going to be going again. And of course, we have notes and stuff like that to help ourselves with. So we're starting with the franchise. Movie number 1. Hellraiser 1987, written and directed by Clive Barker. His directorial debut. Good start. For me, I saw this film far too young.
Yeah.
This is a problem. I'm not anti showing children horror movies. I think it can sometimes be a great way to introduce them to the scarier aspect of life and stuff like that. But there are some films where I'm like, don't show that to a 12-year-old. Yeah. They'll have no concept. Right. It's too adult-orientated. Yep. It's unlikely to make them feel good, like happy. There's no resolution at the end where everyone, yay, and cheers, and the bad guy gets his comeuppance, things that children need. It's too grotty. And let's be honest, none of us want to sit there as a parent and watch sex scenes with our children.
Nope.
Nobody wants to do that.
Nope.
Don't watch Hellraiser with your kid.
No.
You know what I mean? Just don't.
Just no. There's other films. There's other horror films that are more comic book than this.
I just want to see a parent's face. I really want to capture a parent's face of that frozen smile as Frank and Julia are fucking hard in that bed.
Yeah, exactly.
And the kid's sitting there going, and no one wants to look at each other. Everyone has had that horrible experience in life with a parent. Never want to relive that again. No. Don't do it. But ignoring that aspect, it's just too dark. It's just too violent and too, dare I say, confusing of the themes that I think young children wouldn't get. Because I know there's very much on it would panic, and that's cool. Do you, basically. Yeah. But if my recommendation, it's like showing a child Candyman. Oh. I just don't see what...
Traumatising.
I just don't see what they're going to get from it that we do. As an adult and a parent, you want to kind of share your experience and all that and say, look, this is a classic horror movie and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but do it when they can understand. Where you can have a conversation about it.
Yeah, definitely.
And Hellraiser for me is a big, don't show that to your kids. Yeah. There's a reason why it's got an age rating for a reason. Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with that.
When I think of it now, when I just picture Hellraiser in your head, what do you just think? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Pinhead. Yeah. For me, it's grime.
Okay.
Grime. I just think of dirt and grime.
I think it's the first when you see Pinhead, so that is just my lasting memory of being his introduction.
Okay. It also features one of my most memorable horror moments that you can check out in another video, which is obviously when Frank is putting himself back together. Specifically, it's really done in grimy, gory way. And his muscles are coming back on, and it's like a skeleton, and he attaches his spine to his skull, and his brain's all out. Yeah. And it, no. Gross. Cast. So we're just going to mention the main cast, really.
Yeah.
The important one. Oh, it's a very small cast in this, very localised, kept in similar small areas, and I think that works to its value.
Definitely.
It was low budget, but it never felt like a low budget movie.
No, definitely not. 'Cause
Definitely
they kept
not.
it small.
Yeah. Claire Higgins as Julia Cotton. Fantastic.
Yeah,
God, is she
really,
good.
Yeah, she's really good.
Ashley Lawrence as Kirsty Cotton. I'm middle of the road about Ashley Lawrence. I think she plays the role well, but I don't think she's necessarily a great actor.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Andrew Robinson as Larry Cotton. Nails the boring, bland character.
Higgins, yeah.
Good God, is he brilliant in this. He really is. And I love the fact that he gets to reverse the role at the end when it's Frank under his skin.
Yeah.
But obviously Larry, the same actor, Andrew Robinson, now gets to be sleazy and all that. And it's like,
That's good.
you can tell he might have liked doing that. Sean Chapman as Frank Cotton. Ooh, girl. He is...
Good.
He doesn't have loads to do in this as normal looking Frank, but his arrival with Julie in the flashback, his frustration, his sexiness, he generally lights up the screen. What he's supposed to be comes across. Great role. And Robert Hines as Steve. Steve is Kirsty's boyfriend. He pops up in a couple of scenes, particularly at the end. For some reason would be completely removed from the sequel.
Yeah, he's
With not even a mention.
No.
Oh, actually, tell a
No,
lie.
he
No,
does,
Kirsty wonders where he is, and apparently he got released before her. But that's all they say.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's not major role, is he?
Yeah, he has a bit of a bigger role in this. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. Villains, though. Doug Bradley as the lead Cenobite. That is how he's billed. Pinhead was not his name.
No.
It was. I think that was, I don't know who coined that, but it certainly was not Clive Barker, and not from this film. In fact, if you read Hellbound Heart, this character doesn't really exist. It's the engineer, called the Engineer,
Okay. So,
which the second film would use the engineer in a different role.
Yeah.
Nicholas Vince as Chattering Cenobite, who we all know as the Chatterer. Simon Bamford as Butterball Cenobite, which is just mean.
I like the name Butterball. It's a nice sounding name.
Fat looking thing. Quite cool looking.
Yeah.
And Grace Kirby as female Cenobite.
She's cool.
She looks the part. Yeah, she really, really does. So, the story.
Yeah.
The movie opens with Frank. We see Frank Cotton opening the puzzle box and getting torn apart with chains. We begin in simply graphic fashion. We see Frank, he's sweaty, he's in like a dingy room. Don't really know where he is. Oh, he's in the attic. What am I talking about? He's in the attic.
Yeah.
He's in the attic of his house. We don't know that yet. And he opens the puzzle box and we get those early sequences that you love, the rumbling, the swinging chains, the light coming up, the impression that he's obsessed over that box.
Yeah. That's what it... Yeah, it's like it's all sweaty and... It's quite a dark opening as well. Like, there's no... Yeah, you're just straight in with it.
Yeah, we know nothing because it even goes to the fact that we see a figure taking the box and the room returns back to normal.
Yeah.
But during that as well, it's like they piece together the flesh of Frank's face.
Yeah.
And there's like gore and blood everywhere. You get the idea that shit went down. And when he takes the box, whoever this figure is takes the box, the room just returns to normal. It's all in the attic of the house. We see that then properly without the lighting. It's just like a normal looking attic. And it is the attic of a house that Larry and Julia are moving into later. So, it's implied throughout the film and suggested in the film, so this house was the parents of Larry and Frank. And their parents died. But Frank got left the house,
Yeah, that's how
it
I
seems,
remember it,
and
yeah.
Larry got money.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. But Frank has now long since disappeared. It's been a long period of time. So basically, Larry is taking whole ownership of the house.
Yeah.
Frank's long gone. That's how it's done. We also quickly learn that Larry and his second wife, Julia is his second wife, they kind of have a strained relationship. So let's talk about their characters then. Larry and Julia. You already kind of mentioned Larry being a wet weekend.
Yeah.
Elaborate what you mean by that.
Just... They want to get across quite quickly what it is, but just kind of like... Oh, because he hurts himself, doesn't he? Like, he's decorating and he hurts himself and...
Doesn't like
He's
sight
not
of
very
blood.
strong. Yeah, he's not very strong, a strong character. But they obviously have to show that quite quickly to kind of keep the pace of the film. So they kind of make it, they over exaggerate it. If that
Okay.
makes sense. So it's kind of like the blood thing's not a huge thing, but in comparison altogether, and the way he kind of comes across, not very strong character. Talking to Julia and stuff, she seems like she's like the, not to use gender roles, but like the man of the house. I would feel.
I think you used the term in our 10 things when we talked about this to describe sex between Larry and Julia, but I think you can apply it to the whole of Larry overall, which is vanilla.
Yeah.
Which is he likes his food at a certain time. He wants to be in bed at 9 o'clock, reading a book with his reading glasses on, lights out at 10 o'clock. If they're going to have sex, it's missionary, and that's about it. And he's not really bothered about her getting her pleasure out of it and stuff like this. That's what you get a lot of it. Whereas Julia, she married Larry, but she comes across bored, frustrated, cold.
Yeah.
You've suggested that, yeah?
Very, very cold character.
And we also then obviously see her relationship with Kirsty. Kirsty obviously is not her actual mother, so Kirsty's a late teenage girl. Maybe 17, 18?
Yeah, I'd go for about that.
Yeah, I'd go for about that. And they don't really get along.
No.
You know, they don't really get along. She's not calling her mum, she's calling her Julia. Whereas Kirsty and Larry have a great relationship.
Yeah, really close.
Yeah.
You don't know the ins and outs of why the first marriage didn't work, but you kind of get a feeling there's a whole resentment. Kirsty resents Julia.
Which, yeah, is very believable. Very believable. We don't know the details of what happened with Larry and his ex-wife, but very believable, yeah. I should actually point out, and this is touched upon more in the book, I think, than the actual film, but Larry's infatuated with Julia. That's part and parcel of it. He thinks the sun shines out of her arsehole, that kind of thing. But as Julia kind of like in and around her house and she ends up in the attic, she actually flashes back to Frank. And we then get the reveal that she had an affair with Frank. Frank turned up one day in the rain, looking smoking, and she was just enamoured with him, and absolutely enamoured with him. And of course they slept together, but Frank was a free spirit, so he didn't hang around. But she was enamoured with him. She still is, to like such a degree that she can't stop thinking about him and stuff like that. That's when the blood scene happens.
Yes.
So Larry cuts his hand on a nail that's in the wall.
Oh yeah.
And he comes upstairs to Julia into the attic, and he drips blood all over the floor. He basically can't see the sight of blood. She's actually quite caring here, to be fair. She looks after him, let's get this sorted, that kind of thing. But that blood is what starts off the events. So it's never really explained how Frank's able to do this, but basically that blood allows him to come back under the floorboard, and you kind of see like a beating heart. It's quite gory again scene. The blood soaked up and stuff like that. And it slowly resurrects him as time goes by into a skinless corpse, where he will later obviously then reveal himself to Julia.
Yep.
Talk about the makeup of Frank. Skinless.
It's so so juicy. Like obviously they made him look so wet with all the fake blood, and the muscles on his skeleton are all. It's just so good to look at. Really well done. Really well done. Like, anatomically correct and nasty looking.
Looked like a lot of fucking work.
Yeah. Like one of them. It took hours to get into.
Yep.
Hours to get into.
Yeah, you need to keep pouring juice, like stuff on it to keep it sticky while it dries out, all this sort of shit, you know what I mean? But Frank reveals himself to Julia, who obviously is initially quite disturbed, but she's still so fucking enamoured with him that she agrees to his plan of bringing men back so he can continue to resurrect his body and eventually become back to... And he promises we'll be together, basically. We'll be together, do this for me and we'll be together and stuff like that. So she's up for it. Kirsty, though, very suspicious of Julia. Very suspicious, doesn't like her anyway. Starts to look into her, and sees her bringing a man back to the house.
Just like a random dude, isn't it?
Yeah, the scene, we set the scene about Julia going to a bar, and it's just where you get this great acting by Claire Higgins, where she's so nervous and scared about doing it that she's initially like offish towards the man, and sort of like, it's like a lunchtime kind of thing, and she brushes him off first and then regrets it and is like, oh no, come back. She ends up taking her back home and stuff like that. He's what does she say? She says she's lonely. That's it as like a hint kind of thing, which is quite good. But Kirsty actually sees Julia going in with this man, obviously presuming that Julia's just having an affair, cheating on her father. And of course it ends up inside the attic where Frank starts sucking this dude dry. How do you do that? It's kind of like fingers in the back of the neck kind of thing, and then sort of the face and get, like sucking them
like a whole suit being like emptied out.
Yeah. But obviously Kirsty witnesses all this, and it's obviously she's in trouble. She's trapped in there with Julia and Frank, but it comes down to the puzzle box. The puzzle box is still there, and Kirsty grabs hold of it, and Frank's reaction to her getting hold of that is what prompts Kirsty to realise it's important. He's basically like, give me the box, that kind of thing. So she throws it out the window, which causes Frank to react towards the window, giving her an escape route. She manages to get out. and picks up the box and runs off down the street then. But she ends up collapsing. I don't know, through fear, through whatever, or just generally a whole shock of what's been shock.
Of course it'd be shock. Yeah, you've seen all that. You're like, right, I'm just gone now. Yeah.
Yeah, she wakes up in hospital with the box, and it's there. She finds a way to open it as well. And, well, hey, Cenobites. She meets the Cenobites on full. This is an amazing scene because they have part of the wall open up. They come walking out either side. And it's just like,
it's really
fuck.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's the first proper show of them. And their arrival is incredible. We can't praise enough the old days of the lighting, the tune that played, that feeling that this is a big deal.
Yeah, they've come from somewhere you're never going to see properly. And
They obviously, you open the box, you're coming with us.
Yeah.
But she tells them that Frank escaped hell, and they don't believe her. That's impossible. No one ever escapes, that kind of thing. But Pinhead loves a bargain.
He does.
God, he loves a bargain.
Yeah.
So she says, like, if she can prove it, they'll take Frank back and leave her be. If not, they can have it. Famous line is said there, where Pinhead says he'll tear her soul apart.
Oh, yeah.
Which is obviously a major tagline.
Tagline for all the films, yeah.
Oh, many of the films.
Oh, yes.
They're not those later.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't talk about stuff like that. But she basically has to get Frank to confess in the while the Cenobites are watching from whatever they're watching, that kind of thing. So she goes back to the house. However, in the time away, Frank has killed one Larry. He's killed Larry and taken Larry's skin, and he's wearing it. So that's what Kirsty sees. Yeah. And he plays along. Now he's got blood on his head as if the skin isn't fit properly. We even see a point where he has to readjust his eye. To make us aware that it's not Larry. Yeah. And the defense is pretending to be Larry that he killed Frank. And they take her upstairs to show the steaming bloody corpse of what is supposed to be Frank, obviously. Yeah. But it's not. We know that that's actually Larry, it's that kind of thing. It's quite well done. Obviously, the Cenobites appear because that's their cue. But they brilliantly, the reveal is like it's really, really cleverly done because they're smart. They know. Yeah. And their reaction isn't, oh, well, that's like Kirsty thinks they come for her,
Yeah.
Because the deal is obviously off. But actually, they look at the corpse and say they want the man that did this.
Yeah, because they know.
Because they know that is Frank. Larry. They want Frank, but they don't say that. They admittedly is playing the pronoun game a bit, where if you just said the name, it'd be a lot clearer. Because Kirsty's obviously like, no, you can't have my father.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty tricksy.
Yes. So she ends up running out and stuff like that, but Frank decides to reveal himself as being Larry, and he's all sinister, hey baby, that kind of thing. And I think he says something, what does Frank say that reveals it's him? He says a line. Give me some sugar, that's Ash from Evil Dead. Something like that.
Yeah,
give me a kiss or something that Frank would say that she knew instantly.
Yeah, like a pet name, because obviously that's her uncle.
Yeah, exactly that. Something gives him away. So she ends up scratching and ripping part of his face off, and it reveals, like, obviously that's just loose skin across his body. Frank tries to kill her, but in that she ends up moving out of the way and pushing Julia onto the knife, and Julie gets killed. And Frank, obviously being the villain that he was, is just like, hey, sorry, baby, and ends up sucking the life out of her instead. Giving Kirsty a chance to, get away into the attic. Frank follows.
Yep.
Frank follows upstairs, and in the attic, now she knows it's Frank, she basically gets him to confess.
Yeah.
By telling him, like, who are you, that kind of thing. He's like, you know who I am, that kind of thing. And then she's like, no, I want to hear you say it. He's like, it's Frank, baby.
Yeah.
And that is it. That's it. Job done. You fucked up. And that's it. Cenobites arrive, chains come out, hook him up, stretch him apart, that kind of thing. Then you get, you just get what is just one of the best scenes in the entire franchise, which is the close-up face of his stretched skin.
Oh, yeah.
And he just has no remorse, nothing. He looks at her, he licks his lips and says, Jesus wept. And his body gets ripped apart. And it's just like, you are a bastard to the very end.
Yeah.
You know?
No tears over him.
No, absolutely. But hey, Cenobites, they don't agree to the deal. They bargain or not. They want to take Kirsty as well. But she actually ends up using the box to banish them. Mostly, reconfiguring the box, which she finds Julia, having seemingly not died straight away, went into her bedroom, lied in the bed and tried to solve the box, but chains come out and finished her off, and her corpse is on the bed. Very important for the sequel, that, which I think was more that. It was almost setting up, because the sequel would come straight away. So they're obviously planning it. It's like, well, let's get Julia into the bedroom.
And it's filmed straight after as well, isn't it? In the terms of the story as well, because it kind of starts with. Well, we're not going to go into that, but obviously, yeah, it all follows along nicely.
It does, yeah. 2 films can be watched back to back easily. So she ends up banishing them. The effects aren't great, you know. The whole thing comes out and banishes them. You complete the puzzle box. You're basically doing a reverse.
Yeah.
And you're sending them back to hell. That's how it is. Doesn't seem easy, but it's, you know, Kirsty's. You could argue Kirsty's got a bit more understanding of it because she actually opened it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. She ends up escaping with her boyfriend, and as the building kind of collapses, the house kind of collapses. In fact, that's how Butterball is taken out, as he's behind Steve with a knife, and the roof collapses on him. Less inspired, as it were.
Yeah.
They throw the box into a fire as they pass like a vagrant, like, you know, an oil drum, one of them, a bin, whatever, on fire. However, we actually see the vagrant reach in and take it, and he transforms into a winged, skeletonized creature and flies away, which is weird.
Yeah, it's odd.
Odd one.
Odd one there.
But the box ends up in the hands of a merchant, the original merchant who sold it to Frank, and you see him offering it to another prospective customer. So just kind of to show that shit carries on. Yeah, it is the original. It's one of the best. It sets up everything. I have very few flaws with it.
Yeah, same here. So the acting's good. The story's good. Yeah, first time you see the Cenobites, and they kind of. I don't think you've seen anything like that in horror films before.
I can't think of any. I mean, we'd seen so much stuff in horror by 87, particularly it being 87, that perhaps, you know, had I watched a lot more back in the day, it may not have been quite as mind-blowing. But it's what we talked a lot about in the 10 Things. What really was mind-blowing was the sexualized side of things.
Yeah.
They are S&M, you know, S&M characters. He's got his fucking nipples exposed and cut open and stuff like that. It was like, okay, this is supposed to be sexy as well.
Yeah.
That's the weirdness.
Yeah, kind of like what stand on its own, really, the whole idea of Hellraiser. That's what I feel.
Yeah, which is a major selling point of the movie. I think if it lacks anything, if you were to talk about parts of the movie that perhaps aren't as strong in it, it's probably the finale. Probably the finale of that the get through the house kind of thing. It's probably just a little bit too easy and cheap, but you kind of need a resolution, so I'm not... I am nitpicking there. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's perfect, like a perfect horror movie. No. You know, in comparison to, say, like Halloween or Candyman and stuff like that. I see this as their top tier, and this is below it.
Yeah,
you know,
I always thought of it like that.
Yeah, right. That's still how I kind of see it. And I do think the one we're going to talk about next massively improved upon this. Yeah. But let's get into that now. It's Hellraiser 2.
How many years after?
1 year, 1988. So very, very soon, very quick and all that.
Which makes sense in like development of what the actors look like.
Yeah, it really is. And even story-wise, it picks up pretty much directly after the events. It's directed by Tony Randall, but written by Clive Barker. So no worries there. We are still sticking closely to it. For me, this stuck in my head more than the original did. I always remember this one way more.
I don't know if I've seen it much. I think I saw it once before we watched it for this. So I don't have much kind of memory of it, really.
Interesting,
yeah. Just
yeah.
the first one, and that's it, really, before this.
Well, I was, when I was a kid, when I was the right age to watch these, so you're talking about late 90s, mid-90s, late 90s, I just watched the first 3, and I'd never seen the first 3 religiously. Yeah. Bloodline, but then I said a lot of them hadn't even come out. So, like, you know, it makes sense. Cast. Claire Higgins as Julia Cotton. We'll get into a flaw with that. We will get into a flaw with that. In regards to that character returning. Yeah. Ashley Lawrence, once again, plays Kirsty Cotton. Kenneth Branagh as Dr. Philip Chenard and the Chenard Cenobite. The best thing in this movie.
Definitely.
Imogen Boorman as Tiffany. And William Hope as Carl McRae. Villains. Doug Bradley as Pinhead and Captain Elliot Spencer. Because we get more here.
That's a good question, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Nicholas Vince as Chatterer and Chatterer 2. Simon Bamford as Butterball, again. And Barbie Wilde as female Cenobite. It's the same character, a recast. Yeah. She's got a few more lines in this one. She's got a few lines in this one. And I think she's actually stands out quite well. When we did our tier list, we put her quite high.
Yeah, because more character to her, yeah.
Story. Movie opens showing the creation of Pinhead. Love this.
Yeah.
I love this. It's Elliot Spencer, seemingly an army captain. We don't know a lot about him at this point. Don't even know his name. No. This is more what comes later on in the movie, but we see what looks to be something army related in some sort of bunker. He solves the puzzle box. We get the usual showcase of lights and stuff like that. And then we do this wonderful, like, just all black with just his head, but really fast, as it's like he's getting nails hammered into it. And like the last scene is like blood streaming down Pinhead's face as he screams in the darkness. And it turns into pleasure.
Yeah.
Like, it's smiling while he does it. And it's like, dark. It's great.
Yeah. Very dark opening.
We then see the end of the first film, resulting in Kirsty being admitted to a psychiatric hospital. She's interviewed by Dr. Chenard, of course, played by Kenneth Branagh, and his assistant Kyle, we already mentioned as well. She pleads. She finds out in her conversations that they have some elements from the house still with them, and one of them is the mattress of her stepmother Julia, and Julia died on it. Kirsty pleads for them to destroy the mattress because she thinks Julia could come back. I have a little bit of a flaw with this point.
Yeah.
How does she know that?
Yeah.
She never, like, how does she know that that's how it works, or that's how it possibly works? She wasn't privy to the knowledge that and how Frank came back.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a jump. You could say, okay, she worked it out that Frank came back, so Julie can come back.
Yeah.
But like specifically the mattress, it's a bit like, wow, it's a jump.
It's a real jump. Obviously, you need to say that to kind of get the.
Obviously, we need it for the plot to move forward, but it is one where you're a bit like, not sure I love that.
No.
Not sure I love that. And we kind of get to know characters here. We get to know Kyle a bit more. He's a nice doctor, whereas Dr. Chenard's older, the head of the hospital. Not cold or horrible.
No, stuck in his ways.
But I think more analytical is the right word. And of course, they don't believe Kirsty.
No.
We then get Dr. Chenard as he kind of explores the hospital as we see the lower bowels of the thing, where I guess they keep the most mentally disturbed individuals, you know, and it's what you might expect, like from that era. Horrible leaking pipes, people screaming, they're in their cells, you know, and we kind of get a part where he opens like windows and he looks at separate ones, and there's certain focus for good reason, one that thinks he's covered in bugs and things like that. It is pretty disturbing and nails that disgustingly grimy aspect of Hellraiser. No question.
No, definitely not.
But it also turns out that Dr. Chenard is secretly actually obsessed with the puzzle box, which is given the name of the Lament configuration here. You see it on some paperwork. It's not given its name yet, but it's seen in some paperwork. You know, he's actually really, really obsessed with it. And Kirsty, by telling him the potential of the mattress, has actually intrigued him enough to bring the mattress back to his own home. Now, one of the things that I really like here as well is that we do have this grotty and grimy feel of Hellraiser, but not his house. His house is immaculately clean, white walls, which, you know, you have a problem with, but we'll get to that.
Oh, yes.
And over this period of time, basically, what Dr. Chenard has done is somehow, presumably because of the head, managed to get one of the mentally ill patients back to his home. The one that we just talked about there, the one that thinks he has bugs, the bugs crawling all over him. And basically he gives this guy a straight razor and puts him on a mattress, and like a straight razor so the guy can cut these bugs off. Now all of this is being witnessed by Kyle, who, after talking more and more with Kirsty, has been led to believe that maybe Dr. Chenard knows more than he's relying on. And he kind of, it's implied that Kyle might have more interest in Kirsty. Even though that's never properly explored, because Kyle will end up dead in a short while. So Kyle there, hiding behind a curtain, witnesses the events that now follow, which is this guy cutting his arm, bleeding. The scene is really horrible.
It's really hard.
It's really dark. It's
the fact that he's abusing his mental patients for his own ends, for his own research. Just shows his character. It's like, you're not a nice guy. You're not nice in the slightest.
What makes it worse is that the suffering of the guy that plays the mentally ill, is generally wonderful. Like he looks at his suffering. His body is cut open and puckered before he even uses a razor, because he's been obviously self-harming and stuff like that. I like Dr. Chenard, Kenneth Branagh's almost look of horror as the events. Like, he is fascinated, but you can tell he's not 100% sold on what he's doing. But there you go. He's still doing it. The resulting blood flow all over the couch results in a skinless Julia from the Cenobite dimension emerging from the mattress.
Yeah, that was a really good scene.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Carl witnesses all of this. It's a great, really well done tension scene. As basically her strength hasn't returned, so she's struggling to keep control of this mentally ill patient who's now trying to fight his way off, and he's crawling towards the curtain that's Carl's hanging on to pull himself up. And you get this close thing, but Julia takes back control. She sucks the body dry, but she's too weak to get the mattress. And it seems like if she doesn't get by the mattress, she might die.
Yeah.
Like it's part and parcel of it. And so Dr. Channard pushes the mattress over with his foot, basically confirming that he's in. She gets back onto it. She stands up. And we get a first indication as she stands up, she's got her strength up and stuff like that, that she's going to use her sexual prowess. Even though she's skinless, she sort of stands before him. And it's almost like, look at me in all my glory. Yeah. Kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Right,
this is me kind of thing. Elsewhere, back in the hospital, we get a little bit more stuff that's going to be used later on as Kirsty wanders the halls and sees a girl called Tiffany. Is it Tiffany? It is Tiffany.
Yeah.
Don't I was thinking Jennifer for a second. Tiffany, Tiffany's a mute who solves puzzles.
That works out well, didn't it?
It did work out well. Back in her room, she goes to sleep and is woken up by having a nightmare, it seems, and the opposite end of her room, she sees a skinless corpse writing on the wall saying, "I'm in hell, help me," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
She thinks it's her father. Yeah, she thinks it's her father sending her a message to her. What was funny?
There's I've seen a meme where it's got that guy got the body lying there saying, "Help me, I'm all sticky."
Oh God!
No, when it says, "Help me, I'm in hell," normally, "Help me, I'm all sticky." It always makes me chuckle.
Obviously, when she sort of wakes up or snaps out of it. It's not there, but it convinces her father is in hell and she has to help him. Good timing because Carl arrives back. Brilliant acting here by the actor William Hope, as he's so shell-shocked he can't quite explain, and he's just like, "Look, you're right." Obviously, he tells her what's been going on, and their plan is to then go back and kill Julia to stop it, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, Dr. Channard has become heavily seduced by Julia and been bringing more patients home for her to feed upon. We do get a lot of good scenes. As Julia, wrapped up in bandages and stuff like that. Dr. Channard snogging her face off, even though she's bloody lips and all that. There's a bit of sexualization when she puts his hands on her body and his hand goes up her dress and you kind of see her skinless legs because the bandages not got away up. It conjures up the images of like, please tell me they didn't shag. Please.
I don't know. I won't put it past Dr. Channard.
Yeah. Bloody, Julia makes a right mess of the house.
Oh, she does. Pristine white walls. Why? Why put your hands all over him? It really... It's stupid. I won't watch a horror film, but it just really annoyed me.
And one of the most important scenes, and also probably my most criticised scenes, occurs here, where Julia, having regained enough strength, now wants skin. So Dr. Channard has brought a female back to it. She's hanging up in the attic where all the other corpses that have been sucked dry are hanging up. It's quite good. Lightning striking Julia, does the skin thing, he takes the bandages off, and Julia looks like Julia. And this is a problem for me. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't work. That isn't how it worked in the first film, and it doesn't even how it worked in later films. No. You take the skin of the girl, you will look like the girl. Yeah. Like, even if the girl kind of looked like Julia,
that make more sense, or different hair colour, different eyes or something. I don't know.
No, but if it looked like Julia and that's how you're trying to get away from it, but you wouldn't look exactly like Claire Higgins does. No. And it's a bit like, and I get it, you wanted Claire Higgins because Claire Higgins is great. Yeah. But like,
you can imagine,
it doesn't work. I'd have rather some shitty explanation about like an extra power she'd gained in hell or something like that.
To make her,
you know what I mean?
Skin and make it her own.
Yeah, but like it's just brushed over, and she just looks like Claire Higgins, and I don't like it. No. It's the biggest criticism I have of this movie. So during the day, I think it's the next day, Dr. Channard is obviously at the hospital, so Kirsty and Kyle are going to break in. That's their plan. So they go in, they do some exploring, that kind of thing. And how do they separate? I can't remember why they separate, but Kyle ends up in the attic, and it's there he discovers all the bodies. Julia's in the attic already. She closes the door behind him, and she plays the whole "I'm scared, help me." Yeah. Now, this works because he was never told about Julia, and he is looking for a skinless corpse. Yeah. They're looking for someone without any skin. That's the last he remembers. He didn't know about the skin thing. Kirsty obviously never explained that aspect, potentially, or anything like that. So he has she just plays the scared character and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. He should probably be a little bit wary.
Yeah, like who? Yeah.
But I don't know if it's like a hypnotising thing. It might explain a lot, but he seems enamoured by her almost immediately. Yeah. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be something, let's say, that she's got this power over men. Like she had it before and it's become heightened now. She's like from hell.
Claire Higgins is an attractive woman. And, she plays up to that here, but she ends up getting Carl close. And he does kind of fight back a little bit. And then as she goes to kiss him, she tells him his name. And he realises, oh, shit. But she ends up sucking him dry. Goodbye. Yep. Kirsty ends up upstairs, finds Carl's dead body, and then is confronted by Julia, but she's knocked unconscious. Sinead and Julia. It's all about Sinead and Julia now. Kidnapping Tiffany. Now, we do get these weird scenes about Tiffany where it's like she's flashing back to a period when she was younger, and it seems like Dr. Sinead has been preparing for the possibility of opening the box for a very long time.
Using her.
Yeah, as she was a puzzle thing. Because you see a thing where she's like, the mother's apparently saying, can you help her doctor? Can you help my little girl? And you see like a gloved hand, and then you hear like Tiffany saying, Mommy. And it seems like Sinead may have killed her mother so he could keep Tiffany indefinitely in a hospital, maybe.
That makes sense.
It does.
Given his his behaviour now.
Yeah, it does seem like the obsession with the box and stuff like that. And they use Tiffany to unlock the element configuration, put it in her hands, do this, which is great. They watch from a window, and I love this scene because, of course, you get the epic opening of the box and the chimes and the music and the lights and all that, but also you get the shot of Julia, who still has this wonder about the box being opened. And like Sinead's like, oh my God, she's actually doing that. And she's like, yes, she actually is. And they watch from like a window. That shatters. The Cenobites arrive, as they always do. Tiffany almost doesn't even react. She's a bit like, oh, okay. One of them goes to pull a knife out, obviously to take care of Tiffany, but Pinhead arrives and says no. And he says what to me is one of the most important lines in regards to the box. Something that later films were just abandoned. It wasn't desire. It wasn't she that opened the box. It was desire.
Yeah.
And he looks to where Sinead and Julia were hiding originally. He knows. And it's not, she might have opened the box, but that's not who wanted the box opened.
It's what them two.
Desire opened the box. And that's what it is. The configuration can be solved if you want it bad enough.
Yeah. Which is obviously what later films completely
abandoned. Yeah, but it also ties into the original about Kirsty opening it because she wanted to open it. It's what ties into Frank opening it, Elliot Spencer, desire. Even if it's desire driven mad by the fact that you can't. Yeah. I think that is excellent. So obviously Julia and Dr. Sinead have entered the world, the Pinhead world, and it's like a labyrinth. This area is like a labyrinth kind of thing. They're also now followed by Kirsty, who arrives and goes in afterwards as well with the box this time, which has now been turned into a diamond to stop Kirsty from doing it. They actually find Kirsty. Actually, that's right. They find Kirsty and they get into a little bit of jaw-jacking. And Pinhead's like, hey, man, you're here. Yeah. Take your time. We have all eternity to make you suffer.
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
Off you
no
go.
rush. No and
he says, I think he even says, like, explore. Go look around.
Go anywhere.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So free to explore. Julia and Dr. Sinead arrive at the end of the labyrinth and see Leviathan, which is effectively the Lord of Hell. And it's portrayed like it's portrayed like the box itself, which opens up this interesting question if the box being inside the box. Because the box has been turned into a diamond, because that way it's unsolvable in Pinhead's head. If we turn it into a diamond, it can't be solved. Yeah. Which later on you'll find it can be. Yeah. It just needs the right pushes and pulls. So Leviathan is this big spinning thing. So that's what it seems to suggest the box is the box. Because at the end, Leviathan closes into a box again. So it's a box within a box, which is a really intriguing idea. And it has this kind of light that flashes around. And when it passes you, it reminds you of the evil you've done or something like that. Because that's what happens to Sinead. Julia's like, hey, there's my lord and stuff like that. Sinead is like, nah, man, didn't want this. This is too much. Bro, I'm out of here. Or stuff like that. But Julia's like, nah, bruv. This is what you wanted.
Yeah, you're here. You're in it now.
Yeah, and she starts backing him up towards like the edge, and you see like this thing comes up, like a case, and she pushes Sinead into it, and all these things drill into his body. These wires go across his face.
Really graphic.
And he gets taken down. He will be back. Okay. Yeah, it is graphic. It's very, very well done. Obviously, it's some sort of transformation machine. Transform. What else happens then? Kirsty, of course, in hell, wants to find her daddy, wants to find Larry, and she thinks she finds when she comes across a part of hell where it's a specific room, and instantly she should have known better, because the room is very sexualized. There's like a makeup counter, it's all beautiful stuff like that, and there's these wicked beds that they roll out like crypts, and they're like blankets, and there are women writhing in pleasure underneath it. You pull one off, she pulls one off, there's nothing underneath it, and then as she moves through it, they come out again. And it's the same, but they're covered in blood. Yeah. There's a big clue, love. Big clue. Because guess whose hell this is? It ain't fucking Larry.
No.
It is.
It's Frank's.
It is Frank, and it is Frank again, proper Frank as well. And he reveals that it was him who sent her the message because he kind of wants revenge, but he wants to be sexy revenge. It's Frank. Yeah, French revenge can be sexy, right? Julia though appears. Julia appears, and Frank still thinks he's got this hold over her, and he's like, "Hey, you came back for me and stuff like that." Kirsty's ripped his skin off at this point, should add, as well, so he's skinned his corpse.
Yeah.
And he kind of demands Julia come over and give him some, sugar and stuff like that. And but Julia's changed. She's not under Frank's spell, so to speak, anymore. So she actually kills him, allowing Kirsty to escape. The place kind of goes up in flames and things like that. Julia ends up confronting Kirsty inside the labyrinth, and they get into a truck with Tiffany as well. But a vortex blows open behind them, and they all kind of get sucked in. Julia is kind of clinging onto the wall and starts to make her way back up. Tiffany doesn't know Julia's bad, because it goes to help her, ends up grabbing her arm, but Julia's skin rips off.
Oh, yeah.
And Julia is then sucked into the vortex, leaving the skin, and we should say the diamond box behind. There's a lot happening, admittedly. There's a lot happening. As Shenard returns, we then get Shenard return. He's a Cenobite, and ooh, baby,
He looks good.
he looks great.
Yeah.
They went for it here, and I love the fact that initially he doesn't even have the thing attached to his head, because that comes up as he's sort of like he's looking around like he's all right, I'm here, and then this thing comes down and attaches to his head, and
Controls him.
like leads him
Moves
around
on.
kind of thing, like he's that kind of version. What else then? We're up to of course. Back in the hospital, Kirsty and Tiffany have escaped the labyrinth and are back in the hospital. And they encounter. They open a room and its chains are hanging there. Guess who's waiting for them? It's the gang. It's the Cenobite gang.
Groovy gang.
Da, 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 little introduction music and so on that. And Kirsty uses this opportunity to try and bargain again. And this time Pinhead's like, look, man, we've done this shit.
Yeah.
No bargaining. We're done.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have anything to offer us anyway.
Yeah, I don't want anything.
But she actually says, no, I just want to show you something. She shows him a picture of Elliot Spencer, which he took from Shenard's home, part of his research files. Obviously, he discovered the truth about Elliot Spencer. And Pinhead's like, the fuck? And it's interesting. This is really well done scene as well, as the female Cenobite goes to kill Kirsty, and he tells her to stop, and he says he remembers. And remembers that he was human once. And this seems to sort of shake up the rest of the Cenobites as well. They're a bit like,
Okay.
are we?
Yeah, like where do we come from?
Yeah, it's the question of being shown your own mortality, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's all interrupted as the big baddie appears. Shenard appears. And we should say we did have some great scenes with Shenard as he moves to the hospital, doing some pretty horrible stuff and spitting out some cool puns. You know?
Oh, I do like puns, don't we?
We do. If they're done well. We'll get into the next film where they're not done so well. Pinhead and the other Cenobites are like, who the fuck's this guy? The fuck you doing here? They don't know who he is. But they like, yeah, sweet. We're going to have a rock. They actually get prepared to have a rock. They suck.
Oh, yeah.
They suck. It's not even a fight. Like, Shenard overpowers them really easily and kills them. It's really horribly done, though. Because what it is he reverses the Cenobite stuff off them, so to speak, to humanity in a degree. So, for example, the worst one is the Chatterer. As the Chatterer gets impaled, and like by one of the snake things that come out of his arm.
Yeah.
And on a spinning pillar. And as it spins around 4 or 5 times. It spins around again, and Chatterer was a young boy. Was a young boy. Oh, that's mean.
Yeah, it's a bit harsh, isn't it?
But before he kills Pinhead reverts back to Dr. Elliot Spencer. He looks at Kirsty, and then he gets his throat slashed. It's a horrible throat slashing as well. Like, he does the whole choking thing really well. Of course, Shenard then traps Kirsty and Tiffany. But Kirsty ends up back in the labyrinth, finding Julia's skin. And so basically, Shenard is leading Tiffany towards the Cenobite maker machine, if you want. Kirsty arrives with Julia's skin. And she uses it to distract Shenard, who still obviously has that infatuation with Julia. And that gives Tiffany enough time to solve the lament puzzle while she kisses Shenard. Shenard is killed, sent to hell, even though he's actually in it, so that's a bit puzzling. But there you go. And the door to hell is closed. There is a great scene where like Tiffany falls over the edge and Kirsty's trying to grab her to save her, and her skin starts to tear. Yeah, and that's when you realise it's Kirsty, not actually Julia. But he managed to escape before the wall closes. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it for them. We get one final sort of scene to set up a potential other movie, although we wouldn't get it for quite some time, which is two moving men are removing Dr. Channard's belongings from his home. And one of them is pulled inside the mattress. And the other guy comes in and sees like his legs sticking out of it. And then like a pillar arrives and it's spinning around. There are lots of tortured faces on it. But one of them is of like that merchant hobo. And he says something like, "What is thy pleasure?" And that's how the film ends.
Yeah.
It is an excellent movie.
Oh, yeah, it's really good.
It is an excellent movie. Be under no illusions. Bigger, bolder, better.
Yeah.
That is exactly what you need from a sequel, and this one fucking nails every aspect of it. The two issues we mentioned, the two things like where it's like, where Kirsty knows about the mattress and the skin thing, are more than possible.
Forgive him. Yeah.
More than forgivable for the overall quality of this movie. When you think of it, what do you think of?
What do you mean?
If I said to you, 6 months down the line, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, what might be the first thing? Right.
With the finger leading him around.
I think so
and
too.
The vision and being inside the box. That's definitely what I would say.
If I said to the Hellraiser franchise overall, would you reckon you'd think more about this film than you would the first?
No.
Okay.
I'd still picture my initial first film, Frank, Julia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. Yeah. I'll give you that. I'm not sure because I watched these when I was younger. This one just captured my imagination more, way more.
Yeah.
And it still holds up today. I think this is an excellent movie, and that's where my worry of remakes come as well.
Yeah.
It's like, where do we draw the line? Do we then continue, and do we start looking at Hellbound and like that was perfect, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, let's not mess around.
Yeah, don't touch it.
You can have a go at Hellraiser 3.
Yeah.
Go nuts for that one, by all means. But yeah, that's that.
Alone.
But yeah, it is a very strong start to this franchise. Two great movies, no question, I think. Which means we start with the first drop into the valley.
Yeah.
It is Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, 1992. A 90s movie that looks like a 90s movie as well.
Yeah, it's got that sheen to it.
Directed by Anthony Hickox with a story by Pete Atkins and Tony Randall. I will say this, I hated this when I was younger. That's one of the more interesting things. It wasn't like I liked this film. I didn't like it then. I like it even less now.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. Yeah. The cast. Terry Farrell. No, actually, before we do the cast, that's mine. What did you it was your first time ever seeing it?
Yeah. Oh, there's a couple of bits I liked about it, a couple of characters I liked, particular. But overall, I just found it a bit bland. Just a bit meh. I didn't like the setup of it. Yeah, just cheesy characters. Yeah, it wasn't for me.
Okay. Cast then. Terry Farrell as Joey Summerskill. Doug Bradley as Pinhead. And Captain Elliot Spencer. We get a lot more Elliot Spencer here. Paula Marshall as Terry / Dreamer Cenobite / Skinless Sandy. I still love the fact that I didn't realise that in the film.
Oh.
And we'll get into what that particular part is. Kevin Bernhardt as JP Monroe, Piston Head Cenobite. Probably, aside from Doug Bradley, the best thing in the movie.
Oh, yeah,
JP Monroe is great. Kevin Bernhardt does it very well.
Yeah.
And Ken Carpenter as Daniel Doc Fisher and Camerahead Cenobite. They're the only ones I'm mentioning. They're the only cast I've bothered to mention.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are at front and centre.
Yeah.
And there's a lot about them. The story, it's focused around that pillar at the end of the second film, surrounds that, as this is basically housing the evil side of Pinhead. When he got turned back to human in the middle or the latter part of Hellbound, his personality was split. Elliot Spencer, evil Pinhead.
Yeah.
And now, Elliot Spencer, the good side, resides in limbo.
Yeah.
Call it that.
Yeah.
And evil Pinhead is trapped inside that pillar. Basically, apparently it happened when he remembered his humanity in the second film. Here's the issue with that. To know that, I had to read up.
Yeah, it's not just like you shouldn't have to read up.
I mean, Elliot Spencer starts to go through it near the end of the film, explaining that. But by that point, I think he was switching off because it's been a slog to get here.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, we talked about a cast, but let's drop it now. Our main cast, which is Terry Farrell as Joey Summerskill and Paula Marshall as Terry, they're not good. I would say Paula Marshall better as Terry, but Terry Farrell as Joey, as the lead, is so bland.
She's very bland. They have some sweet moments together, the two women. But yeah, overall, that's another point. It's probably 90s bland film that should be forgotten about.
Yep. So JP Monroe, the owner of a popular nightclub called The Boiler Room, he buys the pillar. He loves art. He's rich. Apparently, he's got a lot of money. We don't really know much about him. He seems to not have any parents or anything like that. He owns a club, and apparently he's super duper rich. Seems to be it.
Yeah.
And he loves art, and he buys this pillar. Yeah, simple as that. Elsewhere, Joey Summerskill. She's a reporter, but one of those reporters, who's doing the old dead-end job and like, I want a bigger story, man. Give me a bigger story.
God, yeah.
And she's basically doing a story for a late-night hospital thing, and nothing's happening, obviously. She complains a lot to Doc about it, and Doc's attitude is mine. Listen, man, do the work that's in front of you.
Yep.
Bigger and better things come.
Yep.
I agree.
Put in the groundwork, you get there.
Exactly. Grunt work comes first, people. You don't just jump and be given like, oh yeah, you're going to be interviewing the president tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works, I'm fine with that. But she gets some luck. As a person gets wheeled in a chaotic moment who happens to have chains embedded in this teenager, apparently, as it's wheeled into the emergency room. Obviously, it's quite fast and frantic. One of the chains actually cuts her ankle to imply they're quite sharp. That's where she first meets Terry. She tries to stop and talk to Terry, but Terry don't want to know. Look, I just hang out with him. I don't know anything about him.
Don't know him.
What's call it, things like that. She ends up running off, and Joey then hears noises coming from the emergency room. She opens the door, and the chains have electrified. And they're in the air, and they're electrified, and the body's shaking in the air, and everyone's screaming and all that, and the body explodes. It's fine, except for one problem. Where's the blood?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, why is that not
I mean, do we look at the ratings? Was this a lower rating?
I'm pretty sure this was an 18. There's some fucking mental shit in it. It had to have been. There is some mental shit. I mean, surely the church part alone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Surely, right?
That'll take you out.
There's sex. There's a
It's quite a graphic sex scene.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So obviously, like Terry, Joey is like, oh, it's annoying because Terry Farrell plays Joey, but Paula Marshall plays Terry.
Yeah,
so that's the same name for a real woman and a character.
Yeah.
That's annoying. Joey. Obviously, Joey's like, wow, I've got a story here, that kind of thing. And she ends up hunting down Terry, who came in with the club goer, obviously, and explains that the chain sprang from the puzzle box, which she took from the pillar. And it's implied, not implied, it's told that basically JP was her boyfriend. JP's a dick. In a fit of anger, she pulled a box from the pillar to take from him and stuff like that, thinking she could sell it.
Yeah.
That aspect. But she ends up giving it to Joey. Joey agrees to let Terry come stay with her at home. These are the scenes that you referred to.
Yeah.
Go through some.
Yeah, just all like some sweet moments where Joey's getting ready for work and then Terry's like, oh, trying to make breakfast and things like just like making food for each other. And it isn't it's a nice side to Joey to kind of let her stay with her and stuff like that, seeing someone in need.
Yep.
Could go down the wrong path, things like that. So yeah, that's nice.
Let's talk about Joey's apartment then.
I don't know if she affords that.
It's one of those absurd things where apparently she's a know-nothing reporter, which is what she said herself, know-nothing reporter, but is in this massive, high-rise apartment block in the centre of the city with massive bay windows.
Yeah, nice view of the city.
I
mean, the only thing I can think of is I heard it on Friends was rent control, where like there was like a set thing on rent where they couldn't raise it, so like it wouldn't go up with inflation on different market prices. So you could have like a penthouse apartment for when you started renting it back in the day, or like your family started renting it dirt cheap, so you still get it for dirt cheap.
I'm fine. I mean, it's not explained. It's just laughable. It's just one of those silly little laughable moments. So Joey's investigating the history of the box, trying to get Doc to help her as well. And she uncovers a videotape from one of Pinhead's former victims, Kirsty. And in this, Kirsty explains everything about the puzzle box, as it's the only means to return Pinhead to hell. These are elements we never actually saw, but it apparently happened during the period when she was in hospital in the second film. Possible. I can imagine she was interviewed on tape.
Yeah.
And that's very. I buy it.
Yeah.
I buy it.
Makes sense.
It's fine by that. So Pinhead remains dormant inside the pillars. He basically needs blood to reanimate. It's that old thing. It's blood again. Oh, it's fucking blood.
It is, yeah.
But and this occurs where JP has brought a girl, Sandy, back to his room where the pillar is to have sex with her. This character of Sandy, I get it's a caricature and stuff like that, but basically JP's flirting technique is basically give her a rose, and next thing you know, she's in bed with him.
Yep. That's
how easy it is, because his flirting is not even that smooth.
No.
You know, he's all right looking, he's good looking.
Yeah. He's a club owner, so it's like, oh, I've got my own apartment in the upstairs from the club. So
yeah, so they, we cut to a sex scene. that it fascinates me. This fascinates me as a story. She did not want to bare her naked breasts on screen. So the compromise, JP has his hands on her boobs during the sex scene. And it's like... Wait,
it's one step away from having them out.
It's a bit of a weird one, right? Because she's fully naked as well.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not great. Like, you don't see anything.
No.
But, you know, he is thrusting away and her legs are wrapped around his back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, to go all that way and not have... Yeah,
it's an odd one, right?
She must have had a reason. She didn't want actual nipples on TV.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
It's a strange one, but... Yeah.
But yeah, so like... And after the sex and all that, she's kind of trying to... He's sitting... shining his boots, and she's trying to engage him in conversation about his life and stuff like that. He's dismissive as fuck. And you know it as well. It's like, love, what do you think this is?
Yeah.
Off you go. Yeah. Off you go. And eventually she gets on his nerves enough that he actually says that, love, what the fuck do you think this is? She's like, oh, you gave me a rose. And he's like, yeah, tomorrow I'll give a rose to the next pretty girl.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Learned about who he is.
He's a dick about it. But like, how... naive are you? How naive are you? Yeah, naive is the right word, right?
Yeah, if you're taken upstairs like at a club, and I'm sure you're like if you're going to that club, your friends not told you, like one of your friends, I'm sure might have been.
Surely the reputation might have flung around if he's banging a girl every night, so to speak. But yeah, she gets angry and gets all mouthy and stuff like that. But in that, she gets too close to the pillar and. Chains come out, rip her skin off. The skinless corpse is what we're talking about. Apparently, that's played by
the same girl,
Paula Marshall, who plays Terry. Is a skinless girl.
Yeah. Oh, so okay, so she didn't want her boobs on TV. She didn't want to be a skinless.
Yeah, apparently so, which I thought was fascinating and so on. Obviously, she's screaming. Obviously, JP is fucking shocked.
Yeah,
obviously, and it ends with her getting consumed, her entire body getting consumed into the pillar. And from that, Pinhead's now face has been revealed, like he's there and all that.
Bad makeup and that on.
Yeah, this isn't great, is it? And I don't really get why they chose this direction to go with, and not just have him out of the pillar.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe more of the body kind of aspect.
Because you can clearly see, like when he's moving, he's not been put into it properly.
Well, what it is, the pillar's solid, but obviously they've rubberized around his neck because he's got to be in it, and they want to protect his neck. So you can clearly see as he talks, this rubbery part
just
moving constantly.
It really takes it away from you.
It really, really does. And of course, obviously Pinhead promises JP lots of stuff to help him bring me more victims. And you will get power and delights and all that kind of stuff. It works. JP is of the same ilk as Frank Cotton.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, playboy.
And deviant, if you want to use that right word. Yeah, to a certain degree, wants the more... darker side of things, I guess, if you want to put it that way, stuff that you wouldn't see on TV.
Yeah.
Then in between this, now we get a lot of this crap where Joey has reoccurring nightmares about how her father died in Vietnam. Now this is super important.
Yeah.
She wasn't even born when he died.
Yeah.
Or she was very, very young, one of the two. She doesn't know how he died. So in her head, these dreams, it's how she presumed he died.
Yeah.
And in it, she pictures him getting shot, wounded, and the rest of his crew leaving him behind because she thinks he's dead, but he wasn't dead.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know this.
No.
She doesn't know this. What the fuck? How can you have these dreams about a presumed death?
Yeah, and they won't make an impact on us because we're like, well, that doesn't mean anything to us.
Yeah. And during one of these dreams, Captain Spencer contacts Joey and he talks to her and tells her that without his humanity to act as a balancing influence on Pinhead, Pinhead is completely evil. Joey must reunite Spencer's spirit with Pinhead and use the puzzle box to return them both to hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the nonsense. I don't love Doug Bradley as Elliot Spencer in this. I don't.
No, not in this film.
He's only here to spout this exposition.
Yeah, and it's just nonsense as well.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, why can't they have just hell and rubbing these different threads and...
Yeah, just keep it really simple. We're from hell. We like doing pain and pleasure stuff. Boom. A misunderstanding, though, leads Terry to believe that Joey is going to abandon her and head off to a new job in a different city. She hears a message on her phone from Doc that suggests as much. Yeah. And with that, she feels betrayed and hurt, so she returns to her ex-boyfriend, JP Monroe. It's a great scene. Great scene between JP and Terry here in it, where she wants to talk about it. JP's like, you know what, we'll talk and that kind of thing. But basically, he keeps switching. He can't help himself, and he wants to get her close to the pillar.
Yeah.
So Pinhead can have his way with her.
Yeah.
But it's like a Jekyll and Hyde, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where he's like, look, baby, I'm really, really sorry. Come here and give me a cuddle. And he's like, just come fucking, you know.
Yeah, he's torn by what he wants to kind of do.
I think it's the frustration with the fact that she keeps, like, he clearly doesn't like to do the whole let's talk about our feelings thing.
Yeah.
And she wants to. And that's where the frustration comes across. I think it's great. I think it's a lot of fun.
It's really good fun. Good scene.
Yeah, she's good as well. She's upset and all that. And then she basically like, come give me a hug. And he's like, no, baby, I think it's better for you come and give me a hug. That kind of thing. So she goes to go over the pillar. And, as it gets too close, Pinhead reveals himself, starts screaming. She struggles and actually manages to knock JP out cold. She goes to run out and Pinhead calls her back. And Pinhead does what he does best. He then corrupts her.
Yeah.
It's so much more the fact that he identifies exactly who she is. You're nobody, you think this and all that. I can make you somebody. That's basically what he's saying. You want to belong? I can make you belong. Which is, it kind of ties into the character. I quite like that. So he talks her into feeding Monroe to him and she kicks JP over. He wakes up at the last minute and is like, no, but it's too late. And JP kind of... It's not so much he gets fed, as he gets turned into a Cenobite where this piston gets jammed for his head. Quite a good scene, quite gory, quite nice. And it seems like he's dead at this point. And that is enough for Pinhead to be free apparently.
Back again,
free apparently, as he emerges from the crumbs of the pillar and reaches out a hand to Terry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to have him in the flesh, so to speak, properly. The club. Everything's going on in the club. And basically from inside we see everyone dancing around a lot, but we need to see certain things start to move and all that. And it's basically a massacre.
Yeah.
And it is fun to a degree, but it's not Hellraiser.
No.
You know what it is? I think you might have mentioned this previously. It's scenes similar to Wishmaster.
Yes, when it all goes a bit mad at the beginning.
And at the end.
Yeah, just like loads of people, loads of shit going on. You zoom in on certain pockets of what's going on. All done very fast, very frantic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, people die by tools as well. So like the DJ gets CDs jammed in his head and stuff like that, you know. And there are some good scenes. There are some good, it's chaotic, it's nice. Everyone gets trapped in and there's people being trampled to death. It's a massacre.
Yeah.
And that is kind of cool. It's kind of fun to watch. Joey wakes up to see that news reports on the TV about the massacre and all that. So she thinks, I've got to get down there,
Yep,
Terry, all that. As she's leaving, we see that the TV was never actually plugged in. It's all a ruse to get her there. And as she arrives at the club, she finds, obviously, no news there. She tells Doc, to meet her there.
Yeah.
When she arrives, Doc's van's there. Doc's nowhere to be found. And she goes inside, and there's no news reports there. It's just bodies everywhere. It is a massacre. A lot of effort went in to make it look quite dark.
Yeah.
Inside, she finds Doc dead. His camera has been buried inside his stomach, like that kind of thing. And it's there she meets Pinhead. And Pinhead orders Joey to give him the box. He introduces himself. Hi, I'm Mr. Pinhead.
Yep.
Can you give me the box, please? But she doesn't give him the box, as he can't take the box.
No.
It has to be given to him. Not sure where that rule came from.
It's like a vampire rule. If you're invited in.
Yeah, not sure where that rule came from. But Joey escapes out into the street, and this is where we go off the deep end. As Pinhead resurrects several of his victims as demonic Cenobites. And we get action scenes with some of the worst Cenobites you've seen. Puns. It's absurd. Joey runs on the street. Sewer things explode around her. We then meet the other Cenobites as we get bartender Cenobite who has a shaker thing and uses that to kill some police officers. We have CD Cenobite who shoots CDs out of his mouth. And of course, Doc. Doc. I mean, he's got a camera in his head. He looks terrible. He shoots explosives out of it and says some of the worst puns ever.
Yes, the worst ones of the film.
He blows up some cops and says that's a rap. And it was like, oh my God. Oh my fucking God.
That's what it's film.
It's terrible. It's worst sequence of the movie. And it's annoying because it leads to what is arguably one of the best, which is in the church.
Oh, yeah.
So Joey enters a church, begs for help from the priest. It is trailer fodder.
Oh, yeah.
It is trailer fodder, this part. As the priest is like, my child, there's no such thing as demons. The doors swing open. the music hits, and obviously Pinhead is there, and she turns and goes, what the fuck? Well, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And it's so trailer fodder.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But it is still cool. Pinhead enters, and he's super sarcastic and super mean. The priest's like, get out of here. And Pinhead abuses him a bit, melts the cross to his hand, does the whole, this is my body, eat it, cuts a bit of his skin off and forces the priest to eat it, then pulls the nails out of his head, which are cool because they kind of have like these worms attached to him. You notice that, which I liked. He then puts them through his hands and then does the whole, you know, Christ the Redeemer thing pose, which is just hilariously funny. It is funny. It's so fucking blasphemous. It really is. That you just got to go, yeah, that's fucked up.
They did good with that scene.
Yeah, like I'd love to know what Doug Bradley was like. Are we sure? We sure want to do this?
Yeah.
It's quite offensive, but you know what I mean? I find it, I think it was great. And it all comes to a head at a construction site when the Cenobites trap Joey. But in the very first of many things to come, she solves the puzzle box very quickly. And they're sent to hell. We should note that we are introduced to several, several other Cenobites here, which is JP as Piston Head. I do like how he looks. Although his face is a bit crap, the pistons are moving, so his head constantly does...
Like jerks, because obviously it's moving the pistons. Yeah, that was quite cool.
And we get Dreamer, which is, of course, Terry. And basically, she looks like female Cenobite, but with a cigarette in her throat. It's not very good.
No, adjective.
And they kind of gather around and they're like, bleh. They're doing that towards her. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Really cheesy.
And it's like, the fuck, are you going to attack her or what? And just and it's like, but she ends up solving and sending them to hell. In that same point, she gets transported to Limbo, where she comes face to face with her dead father in the location she's dreamt about, Vietnam apparently. He then tells Joey that she has to give him the puzzle box, as that he's been told that he's come back to say goodbye to her, but he's been told that he must collect the puzzle box from her. Yeah. And she's like, okay. And it's literally, you know that scene in Naked Gun 33 and a third, where the envelope was being, bomb with the envelope was being switched back and forth. And all the people in the theatre, when Leslie Nielsen gives the envelope over by mistake with a bomb, everyone goes, slaps their head in just shock or pure like, can't believe we did that at once. And there's an entire auditorium of everyone going like that.
It's like,
That's what this is. You're like, are you fucking serious? Because guess what? It's Pinhead. I know. I'm as shocked as you were. He then traps her in some machinery and prepares to transform her into a Cenobite. He likes to take his time now. Yeah. You know, it's one of those villains where it's like, you're the hero, so I won't be rushing to kill you, even though I normally don't do that. No, as well. Normally, it's all about chains. Because Joey can't die, it's leather straps for her safety. But Spencer's limber-bound spirit arrives and confronts Pinhead, and they forcibly fuse them together. And at first it looks pretty good as their faces kind of get twisted up, but then it turns to CG and it's not so good. In that, Joey breaks free and uses the puzzle box, which is now transformed into the pyramid dagger shape. As Pinhead, he basically... here's the thing. The film seemed to want you to think that if Elliot fused with Pinhead, Elliot would be back in control. Yeah. But no, of course not. It's still Pinhead.
Of course it is.
It's just he'll have that humanity side, which you see when they battle as this weird face-changing effect. It's not very good. No. But she ends up stabbing Pinhead in the chest, saying, go back to hell, or fuck off back to hell, or something. It's like, okay, cool. All right. And that's it. Off goes Pinhead. The box returns Joey to Earth. And she buries it in a pool of concrete in the construction site. There's a big old pool that's watery, and she just puts it in there, which is great. I like that. It's a good place to put it. And we do then get a cool scene where the later finished product on that same site, so many years later, the building has been constructed. But that building, interior design is identical to the box, as if the box had some sort of power. They would learn why with Bloodline, but it's like that box has the power that whoever was then designing the building was then overtaken and so on. And we'll find out kind of why more of that in Bloodline. Don't know how it attaches to the Joey side of things, but they're by the by. This is a bad one. This is a bad movie. Overall, there are a few positives and enjoyable moments. It is a slog.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to say that whole Joey and Terry thing goes on far too long. There's too much of that.
Yep.
It's a bit like, a bit naff. Like, you could have eliminated part of it and had her as like a wayward sister almost. You could have her as a sister with a dead end boyfriend. She comes back and forth rather than having the come live with me, that kind of setup. they could live together, or she's come staying with her because her boyfriend's kicked her out.
Cool.
That kind of thing. And like, cause still had of her, like, she enjoys going to the clubs and things like that, and still had her being a wild child lifestyle, but without having the whole, oh, come live with me kind of element. It worked a lot better, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the biggest problem is Terry Farrell as Joey. I just think she's incredibly bland.
Yeah.
She's not even that likable because she's, you know, it's like, oh, you're just a reporter and that's it. That's all her character is, you know? And ultimately the star, the most enjoyable thing realistically is Doug Bradley, but I don't like this Pinhead.
No.
I don't like this, I love what I'm enjoying this aspect. This is a lot of fun. I'm just having fun kind of thing. I don't like it.
No.
It and I know why it's supposed because he's pure evil, but like, why does that change the rules? The rules that were set in the Order of the Gash and stuff like that.
Yeah, when you look at it sort of Hellraiser 2, like worlds apart.
Worlds
like
apart,
4
right?
years, it's like, wow, okay.
It's messy. And then there were the elements, as we said, the additional Cenobites, the new Cenobites are so uninspired and so stupid. Whoever thought, yeah, let's have the Doc Cenobites say things. Absurd.
Yeah.
Absurdly stupid. Elements of that, and just the action scene of her running through the streets and things blowing up and that the cops getting killed. It's just bad stuff.
Yeah.
In design, there isn't that much exciting gore. It doesn't have that grimy and grotty feel.
No, it's like a 90s film, 90s
Yeah.
sheen to it.
That shine, that glossy shine that you expect, you know?
I feel like a throwaway straight-to-video film, which isn't very enjoyable.
Yeah. And we move on then. Up next then, it's the fourth film. And the first to drop the numbers. Hellraiser Bloodline. Although you can find it as Hellraiser 4 Bloodline.
That threw me off. When you try and refer to them, in your head, when you've got 4 or 5, it places them. So sometimes, because they had obviously like shit names, like shit words after them most of the time. Hellraiser, Dead Again, Loving It, that kind of shit. It kind of found it, sometimes when we talked about them, you're like, do you not remember them? I was like, yeah, but because they kind of, sometimes the shit ones blur into each other. They're kind of harder to kind of pin them down. But yeah, this one, Bloodline.
No, I do. Particularly as well, a lot of the names are uninspired.
Yes, that's what it was.
Really uninspired. One word, it's like, oh, is that it? You know, how we never got Hellraiser Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Because that's a classic one, you know what I mean? But anyway, Hellraiser Bloodline from 1996. We're still in the 90s here. Directed by Kevin Yeager and Joe Chappelle, 2 directors.
I don't see how that would work.
I can only presume they did
Villains.
aspects. One may have done the future side of things. One may have focused on the past side of things.
Yeah,
Might have been that.
That makes more sense now thinking about that, yeah.
Story by Peter Atkins. It's a prequel and a sequel. Combines both. So we're getting origin stories here. And we're getting what happens next. And I will tell you right now, why is that funny?
Because that's the spirit of like the Hellraiser films now. Bargain. Budget.
Every fucking series
do it
eventually
all
does
together.
a prequel. Everyone.
Yeah, but some people don't jam it in with a prequel and a sequel and...
Well, that's the thing. If we'd never got a Hellraiser film after this, this has the perfect wrap up of the story as we see where things came from and how it ended.
Oh, yeah, it goes...
It technically does end.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we have a big question mark about how it continues after this. We'll get into that.
Yep.
Cast. Top build now. Doug Bradley as Pinhead. Bruce Ramsey as Philippe Toymaker Lemarchand. I can never say that.
Lemarchand.
You can say it then, yeah? So he also plays John Merchant and Dr. Paul Merchant. He plays several characters. Basically, he plays himself and his ancestors. And his... What comes after ancestors? 4 ancestors and then his...
Predecessors?
No, after. So it's like he plays... So, for example, he plays John Merchant, who's in the now.
Yep.
Paul Merchant is the one in the future.
Yep.
And Philippe is the one in the past.
Yeah.
So 3 different areas of himself.
Yeah, I can't think of the word either.
Valentina Vargas as Angelique / the peasant girl. Probably the best thing in this movie. Kim Myers as Bobby Merchant. Adam Scott as Jacques. Christine Harnos as Rimmer, which, I mean, you create a character in space called Rimmer. What do you expect me to think of?
Dwarf.
Red Dwarf, mate.
But then they're Americans, so they might not.
Rimmer.
Yeah.
Why would you choose Rimmer?
No idea.
Did you not go space, Rimmer, just to make sure there was no characters that were directly attached to the idea? Like example, there was another movie where there was a Marine called Rimmer. You might be like, well, let's make sure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm just thinking like maybe Peter Atkins or Kevin Yeager or Joe Chappelle were Red Dwarf fans. Maybe. You know? Because it's weird, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Mickey Cottrell as Duke de la Isle and Cortland Mead as Jack Merchant, who plays a very young boy.
Yep.
And that is predominantly the cast. Begins in the year 2127. Paul Machon, an engineer, seals himself in a room aboard the Minos, a space station that he himself designed. And in it, we see Machon manipulating a robot into solving the configuration box. The robot is destroyed in the process. But before we can see anything else that happens, because it's in a dark room, guards break through the door and they apprehend Machon. So whatever he was doing, he basically took control of his own station, which he shouldn't have done. And the leader of that group is Rimmer. Paul, he agrees to share his motivations and what is going on with Rimmer. But then we go all the way back. From there, straight to the past. So we're straight in with that future stuff. Fine. Yep, fine by me. But we go back to Paris, 1796. As Dr. Machon's ancestor, Philip,
Le Marchand.
which is why it's called the Lament configuration.
Yep.
He's a French toy maker. And he's making the Lament configuration on commission for the aristocrat Duke de la Isle. Yeah. And unbeknownst to the toy maker, the specifications for the box that he's following is actually going to make a portal to hell. I don't know. Don't ask me how that works. I don't know how that works. You kind of have to just accept things sometimes. But he's a very skilled toy maker. That's the most important thing. He's very intricate, detailed to perfection. That is very much hammered home. So it is implied he can do it. And later we will see the Duke. He's into satanic shit.
Yeah.
He's all up for that, like, goat's heads, black metal.
Sacrifices.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So he may have been able to work that combined with the toy maker skill. I'll buy it.
Yeah, I'll go with that, yeah.
But upon delivering the box, he watches as the Duke and his assistant, Jacques, sacrifice a peasant girl and use her frayed off skin to summon a demon, Angelique, through the box. So back then it was a matter of similar, but it was less order in hell. We'll actually touch upon that later on, the idea that hell was less ordered.
Yeah.
And it was more just you could summon a demon and then they'd be under your control.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Seeing this, the toy maker, obviously shocked, disgusted by what he's created, decides to work on a second box.
Yeah.
Creating the blueprints for a second box, which he says will basically neutralise the effects of the first. That opens, this closes. That's his plan. But to do it, he needs the original box. So he returns to the mansion to steal the box, and he discovers in there, because it's filth and it's dirty and it's maggoty, and he discovers that Jacques has actually killed the Duke and is now taking control over Angelique. And Angelique has agreed to be Jacques' slave as long as he, very important, does not impede or get in the way of the wishes of hell. That line is super important. Yeah. Shall we mention Jacques? We might as well get it out now.
Adam Scott! Yeah, we love seeing him. It was just really funny because we know him so well from comedies now.
Yeah.
A lot of comedies.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know, Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
That show.
Yeah, because he plays
Step Brothers.
Yeah, he plays that really sort of... He plays nerdy character in Parks and Rec. Step Brothers, he's like the dickhead brother that softens a bit. And has the funniest scenes with him and stuff. Yeah. It was good fun to see him again.
Yeah.
If we're looking young, we're like, is that... Oh no, look at it. That was good fun.
It was. And he's all right in this. He's all right. It's weird. If you know him as well as we do, it's weird.
Yeah.
That's ultimately its thing. It's weird to watch. So the pair, Angelique and Jacques, kill the toy maker, and Jacques informs him that his bloodline is now cursed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not? 1996. So the time of the film's released, a couple of years after the events of Hell on Earth, as John Machon has built a skyscraper that resembles the Lament configuration. So this is our throwback to the third film.
Yep.
But the problem for me is it doesn't make sense in regards to the influence of the box. Because it's the bloodline, right?
Yeah.
Not the box. So the box being under the ground is irrelevant.
I think it's just visual, just trying to visually link it.
Yeah, because Machon, it's his bloodline that is obsessed and has this whole thing with the box, Angelique sees about this building in a magazine while her and Jacques are still together. Jacques is living forever, basically, and stuff like that. She wants him to take her to the United States so she can confront Jean Machon. But Jacques denies her request, which is getting in the way of Hal's plans. Yep. So Angelique kills him. Cheers, Adam Scott.
See you later.
See you a couple of years, many years down the line.
Yep.
Yeah. So Angelique travels to the US on her own. And she actually fails. She tries to seduce him. And he's married and he's got a kid.
Yeah.
But she tries to seduce him and actually fails. But does discover that the lament configuration is in the building's foundation. She goes down there and smashes a hole into a wall and finds it, which is where it was from the third film.
That carries on.
So I'm fine with that. She then tricks the security guard into solving it.
What?
This is a big one. This is the first start of, oh, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
How is that desire? How is that need?
Yeah, just... Okay.
Yep. Obviously, this is the arrival of Pinhead. And it's interesting. This is one of the more interesting elements this film touches upon. Where Pinhead kind of is like... And we find out Angelique's like a princess of hell, that kind of thing. But Pinhead points out that you haven't been in hell for a very long time and shit's changed, apparently. So as if like there's fucking committee meetings and stuff like that.
We've been updated with this stuff,
Yeah, because he points out like hell's a lot ordered now. And like this kind of thing. Because she doesn't know who they are. And ideologies of hell have changed. She left 200 years ago. Angelique believes in corrupting people through temptation, which is classic biblical hell shit. Nowadays, it's all about being devoted to pain and suffering.
Yeah.
I really like that element. It's kind of funny to picture the scene of Demon Angelique with Demon Pinhead talking about the inner workings of hell's politics.
What have I missed? Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? You haven't shown up for X amount of Cobra meetings, Angelique. Now this is all going wrong.
Yeah.
You know? It's hilarious. But the pair do forge an alliance to kill Michonne. Because they find that he's trying to do something called the Elysium configuration, which is the anti-box.
Oh, yeah, to get rid of him, yeah.
And if it's completed, it could close all gateways to hell permanently. So they plan to collaborate to corrupt Michonne. Pinhead's like, all right, do your shit. Yeah. I'll watch from afar. But she can't do it. She sucks. And Pinhead gets frustrated by that. So instead just goes the route of taking Michonne's wife and kid hostage.
Nice.
You know, he's like, fuck this. Let's do it the simple way. Basically, yeah. And Angelique's problem is that she's become too accustomed to life on Earth. Yeah. Pinhead even points it out to her. You've been here too long. And she doesn't want to actually go back to hell. So she actually intends to try and force Michonne to complete the Elysium configuration and destroy hell so she can stay on Earth. However, Michonne's prototype fails. It's not ready. It's not done. So Pinhead ends up killing him. And his wife... Oh, no, but his wife, opens the Lament configuration. Everyone can open it. Sending Pinhead and Angelique back to hell. Yeah. It's a lot going on. It's a fast-paced movie, and we are jumping through periods. Because now we've effectively cleared... There's the original story. We've done the middle. Now we're going to the end part. As we're back in 2127. And Rimmer... is Arnold, Rimmer. I can't help it. She obviously does not believe Dr. Michonne's story and has him locked away. However, obviously, Pinhead was freed. Yeah. That's the events that get interrupted. And obviously, when Michonne opened the box, he's free, and they get out. They get out of the room and go on a killing spree throughout the ship. There are some new Cenobites here. Yeah. And some of them were collected, and it's weird, some of them were collected previously, but were then not shown until now. And back in the 1996 era, we didn't mention it, the guard that opened the box got killed by Pinhead. And they were brothers, if you remember, twin brothers. Yeah. And they get twisted together. That was cool. It's quite a gory scene. It's quite good. The actual Cenobite doesn't look so good, though. No. It looks a bit fake, cheesy. Yeah. But it's nice to see. And we get a Chatterer Beast here as well, which is the dog version of Chatterer, which looks all right, you know. So yeah, they kill the entire crew, which is mostly faceless, nameless Marines. All except Rimmer and Paul, who actually managed to escape. And Paul reveals that the Minos itself, talking to Pinhead through a microphone, a hologram. That's it, a hologram. That the Minos itself is actually the completed version of the Elysium configuration.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that, yes.
And he distracts him with a hologram, boards an escape pod, and clear the station, he activates it. And what it basically does is it closes up into a box and fills with light. And you do get the scene of like Pinhead being destroyed by the light, all the other Cenobites and stuff like that, Angelique and so on. And it looks like it's the end. Because if he's trapped inside that with the light, surely he can never come back.
That's the thing, yeah. But then he does.
Well, I mean, there's an argument to be suggested that all the other films that follow this weren't in the future. That this is the events that will eventually follow.
Yeah,
right?
we're all seeing that in the present. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
there is.
So this is kind of this is what's going to happen.
Eventually, yeah, potentially, yeah. You know, and that's the film in a nutshell. What did we touch upon? Angelique is a Cenobite. Looks great. She's one of the most memorable one.
Yeah.
You know, her skull has been exposed and ripped open and held by chains to there. Really good. But that's about it. Everything else is very much Hellraiser, but without the grotty feel beyond the past stuff. So let's break it down into 3 eras.
Yeah.
The 1796 in Paris
Is
best parts of the film, right?
Definitely, yeah. Because it's interesting. I like seeing the history of stuff and how things began, and I really enjoyed that.
I liked it as well. I was very pro the idea of going back to the origins of the box. Is it too easy? Is it very simple as like, oh yeah, Toymaker made it? It's like,
no, because back in the day you didn't have like electric toys. They would carve, and you get like Chinese finger traps. You get wooden puzzles where people would hide
but
stuff.
gateways to hell. That's what I'm saying. Is it a bit too easy for that?
No, I think you could. I think you could corrupt it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
agree. I think the early portion of the movie, that part is the most memorable. I think it looks great. I think the acting's solid. I think there's some great grimy, grotty stuff, particularly when the Toymaker returns to find like the Duke dead and like there's maggots all over the table. Like, you know, it's like living in abundance, you know, but like in the filth as well, the squalor, even though it's supposed to be high society. I quite like that. The middle portion then, the 90s segment. Most forgettable part in it.
Yeah, it does look 90s as well. It's got a 90s sheen to it as well.
Yeah, it's very forgettable. The colour palette is very dark and grey. We get a lot of stuff inside this building, which isn't that inspiring. Office stuff. The parts with Angelique trying to seduce him don't stick, because mainly it's just about him having dreams and visions and seeing her from afar. It doesn't really work. I never really bought into the relationship between him and his wife and his kid, because they're not in it for long enough.
That's the thing,
the part between Angelique and Pinhead is funny, just because of as we said, the idea of politics of hell.
What's going on? Yeah, what's going on with hell now?
Is fun, you know? And they rush it. They rush it to a quick conclusion, where it's like, we don't really know what to do. Let's just have Pinhead take the kid hostage, kill Michonne, and we move on. Yeah. And then, of course, the future stuff. It's bland. It's every future ship ever. It's just dark corridors, black walls. It's not that inspiring. But I do like the twist of the ship being
the actual thing itself.
Box itself.
Yeah, I like that. I think it links into the whole obsession thing. Like, you wouldn't just make it overnight. You'd be working on that for years.
Generations. I do like that. I also like the fact that this character, this particular character, Dr. Paul Michon, is a little bit arrogant. And he's arrogant towards Pinhead. He calls him Demon. He refers to him as Demon. And it's like the fact that he does, considering how much Pinhead has tormented his bloodline, he does get the upper hand.
Yeah.
Simply by using the technology at the time. Because Pinhead doesn't know that's a hologram.
No.
That's a cool touch.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I think this is a good film. I don't think it's a great film.
No, but it stands out amongst
what we're going to get to.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's move on then to number 5. Right. Inferno. This is the one that Liam rated the highest. The 5th installment in the Hellraiser series, and the first Hellraiser film to be released direct to video.
There we go.
So we're off on this path. Directed by Scott Derrickson, who wrote it with Paul Harris Boardman, and the first of many. The script was not a Hellraiser movie originally, but rewritten for it.
There we go.
Cast: Craig Sheffer as Detective Joseph Thorne, Nicholas Tarutio as Detective Tony Neonon, James Remar as Dr. Paul Gregory, and Doug Bradley as Pinhead. A couple of big names.
Yeah,
James Remar, known from several films. You obsessed with knowing him from The Warriors.
I love The Warriors.
For me, it's Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, Raiden. Yeah.
And Annihilation. Yeah.
And Sex and the City. He has a good role in that.
Of course he does.
Richard.
Yeah, of course he is. He's good at that. Yeah, man.
That comes under the horror umbrella, to be fair. So.
The story. Joseph Thorne is a corrupt Denver police detective who regularly indulges in drug use and infidelity during the course of the day. He's just not a good dude. That is laid out from the start. You are not supposed to like this man. Which is an interesting direction for the film to go in.
Yeah, you've got no ties to this guy, and away even further from the film, like I still don't
betrays his friend, sets him up.
Yeah, like he's not nice. He's not. There's no redeeming. I don't find any redeeming qualities in this.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a nice change of direction for the franchise at this stage. And at a scene of what appears to be a ritual murder, he discovers a strange puzzle box, which he takes home because he happens to have a little fascination with puzzles.
Yeah.
he quite enjoys them, you know? So we see that at work when he often's doing puzzles and stuff like that. Of course, he solves the box. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
And things change up. Obviously, box solved, we're expecting chains to come flinging out. No, we get nothing like that. Instead, he starts to experience hallucinations, such as being seduced by a pair of mutilated women. What are they called? The Stitch Twins? They have a name. I can't remember what they're called. And being chased by a creature with no eyes or legs, which is the torso chatterer. So basically, things from it. Thorne also makes a connection between the murder and a killer that's been on the loose for some time, known as the Engineer, who is currently suspected of having kidnapped another child. So the Engineer is a villain in this movie that we never really know much about. Obviously, the Engineer being a reference to Hellraiser's, the Hellbound Heart.
Yeah.
But basically, captures kids and cuts fingers off them and leaves them at crime scenes. That's what it is. Thorne is obsessed with finding the Engineer. It's kind of his big thing. But he seems to get the attention of the Engineer, it seems, because the Engineer starts to murdering Thorne's friends and associates, always leaving behind one of these missing child's fingers at every crime scene. While undergoing therapy for his hallucinations, Thorne's psychiatrist reveals himself to be Pinhead. Yes, indeedy. Obviously, the leader of the group of the Cenobites, and we all know about the puzzle box.
Yeah.
That's what he's been using. Pinhead then tells Thorne that he's actually been in the Cenobite realm since day one, since the moment he opened the box, which is something you do kind of wonder several times throughout it, but with no definitive proof.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting, nice touch. I quite liked it. And what they've been doing is subjecting him to psychological torture for the various cruelties he has inflicted on others. The Engineer is a manifestation of Thorne's own cruelty, while the child is a personification of Thorne's innocence, which he's been slowly killing through corruption, hedonism, and violence. Let's be honest, that's a good fucking touch.
Yeah, that is.
It is.
Yeah. A different play on the whole hell and punishment and things like that.
And the movie ends as hook chains appear and begin to ensnare Thorne. Pinhead informs him that he'll be subjected to an eternity of torments for his sins. Now, we've glossed over a lot of the detail over this because a lot of it is just plot to the film. Hallucinations and stuff like that. The overarching aspect is what this film does really, really well, and now I'm remembering a lot more of it, is we said it several times during it, I'm really struggling to understand what's real and what's not here.
He kind of blurs the lines.
Big time.
And the fact, like, he's on drugs quite a lot and he
Cheats on his wife.
He cheats on his wife and he's not following the rules anyway. Like, so this film's not following the rules because he doesn't follow the rules.
Yep.
I mean, there's parts where you're shouting at the TV as well because you do get behind how much you dislike him.
Let's talk about one of the biggest moments where we did lose our shit over him, which is basically the ritualistic murder involves him. Looks like it could be pinned on him.
Yeah.
Because he slept with a prostitute.
Yes.
Or a woman anyway. And she's dead the next morning in the bathroom and stuff like that. When he calls his buddy and gets his buddy involved in it and then sets his buddy up, takes something from his buddy's pocket, his phone or something, and hides it under the bed, thus effectively framing his friend, which is fucked up.
But they do get around that, don't they? They kind of eventually they work out it's him. But up until that point, you're a dick, like absolute dick. Yeah. You
know what this film feels like? A side story. A side story in a Hellraiser plot line, and that we veered off just to have one of these. Oh, this is something Pinhead did as well.
Yeah.
You know, and we should note, obviously this wasn't an original script. So I do wonder what the original script looked like. Because while Hellraiser, I think it's not so much jammed in here. I think it's well integrated in.
Yeah.
If you think about the idea behind the Engineer, the idea that Pinhead kind of like pretending to be the therapist is a bit weird.
Yeah.
Just to do that big reveal at the end is a bit odd. But the idea of like, well, it's been psychological torture is a new take on it. And something that we've always kind of suspected they would do anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
I agree with that. Having him face up for his sins as well is another element because no one else, it always seems like they're the victims outright and there's redeemable qualities. With him, it's like, well, no, this is your life, this is your punishment for what you've been living like.
Yeah, there's no happy ending here.
No.
He will suffer an eternity for what he has done in life, effectively. But open up the puzzle box, that's the moment the movie just switches complete tact on me. When he opens it, that's when it all becomes. He did that. That was the moment. That was when it all changed, and that's a good element. Its flaws are, I don't think it's that memorable overall. I think months later, the fact I'm like, and what I do remember is that it's very dark, not in the kind of grotty, grimy way. It's just a dark, uninspired visual looking film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
none of the Cenobites stand out. None of the hallucinations stand out
I know I'm piecing parts of this film together with another one where a guy's going through some sort of like mental trauma.
Yep. Hellseeker.
So I'm kind of like meshing them in my head.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit where, we're talking about in Hellseeker where he sleeps with someone, but we're not sure if he does or not at first.
Yep.
In my head I was like, oh, this is this film because that happened here, and it's like, no, it's not. So like, in that respect, they're not original in the scheme of things to come, and in the whole shitty corrupt cop been done a death really. I think I would prefer like a woman living like, I don't know if I prefer a woman character.
Could have been a night. Well, mind you, but to be fair, we had 3 films in the major franchise that starred women. Kirsty, Julia, Joey. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
just do the idea a bit better, but but it just meshed with other films.
I do like the idea ultimately of having a villainous character and not one that you like is about being redeemable. That is a good touch.
Yeah, because there's other films for that. This is Hellraiser.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next one then, because it is, of course, Hellseeker.
Here we go.
We've already mentioned it.
Yeah.
2002, directed by Rick Bota and written by Carl V. Dupree and Tim Day. The 6th film in the franchise, directed by Rick Bota. Which I already said. Clive Barker had cursory input on the film, and some uncredited influence on the 3rd act specifically. Hellseeker was the last Hellraiser film to have any involvement from Barker, uncredited or otherwise. And again, not an original Hellraiser script. So there's that again. Cast. Most importantly, Ashley Lawrence as Kirsty Cotton Gooden. Double barrel name. Doug Bradley as Pinhead and the Merchant. Dean Winters as Trevor Gooden. William S. Taylor as Detective Mike Lang. Michael Rogers as Detective Gibbons. And Rachel Hayward as Dr. Alison Dorman. So there's the predominant cast. And the story surrounds Trevor Gooden surviving a car accident that apparently killed his wife, Kirsty Cotton Gooden. Their car plunged off a bridge into the river below. Trevor managed to escape with his life, but Kirsty wasn't to be found. Even though the police divers found both car doors open, there's just no sign of her.
Yeah. She's
just disappeared off the face of the earth. Yeah.
I thought it was funny because when we first saw Kirsty and then the car plunged down, we're like, oh, that was a quick paycheck for
yeah.
Like, oh, she's in it. Oh, she's dead.
No, she does have a bigger role.
Yeah.
Bigger role.
But at first, like, oh, okay. They brought her in just to kill her off.
So 1 month later, Trevor wakes up in hospital and realises obviously that his wife is missing. But because of a head injury he suffered in the accident, his memory is very uncertain. And this is what you were talking about. He can't distinguish between fantasy and reality. Yeah. There is a big problem.
Yeah.
Yes. And unfortunately, his wife's missing. He is obviously suspect number 1, which you can't argue with. His wife's missing. You're saying this happened. We found no proof of that.
Yeah, that cop's like proper on him though. Yeah, there's a cop that keeps questioning him.
There's a double cop. It's homicide detective Gibbons and Lang, which we mentioned, William S. Taylor and Dean Winters. And basically, it's good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, one's like, oh.
Hey, buddy, here's a cup of coffee. The other's like, bang, there's a coffee in your face.
It made me think of Bill Bailey when Bill Bailey in Black Book pretends to be a cop. And he's like, oh, should we go out and get some Chinese? And the other one's like battering him. Yeah, so it's good cop, bad cop. The bad cop's probably got a boner for him going, right, I'm going to nail you for this, sucker.
Thing is, it is over the top, but it actually makes sense. It does actually make sense as to why.
Yeah.
So many strange events befall him, including he experiences a ton of hallucinations and several important events turning out to just be figments of his imagination. And these are several things, including his friend Brett, Trevor White, committing suicide. He gets his boss at his workplace comes on to him and suggests that in a conversation with his friend as well, there may have been a plan to get the insurance on his wife's thing. All these things that suggest that Trevor may have had more involvement in his wife's disappearance than even he fully knows.
Yeah, because you feel sorry at first, like, oh, he's a poor widow.
Yep.
Oh, he's still like suffering from the head injuries and trying to get his life back together. And he's like, maybe not. Maybe not.
And of course, there's the neighbour. I think the sex scene you were talking about when we were talking about Inferno is involving the neighbour. Yeah,
so she comes over, she's up for it, they sleep together, and then he goes and, for some reason he goes and knocks on the door to talk to her.
Well, she's dead, ain't she, in the chair?
Yeah.
And then she's not there, and then it's a Cenobite, and he goes and talks to her. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It's all, yeah.
When he knocks on the door, it's like she basically barely knows him, not enough to be having an affair with him.
Yeah, and it's like someone just opens the door, like, if it's a very unbelievable if it was our partner. Like statey bit at the door. Like, fair enough, people have their own taste, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the blurring, as with the last one, the blurring of reality is very, very hard to follow here. And it very basically all comes to a head where he's summoned to the police station and taken to the basement by Detective Lang in order to identify a body. Potentially it's supposed to be Kirsty's body. But it's revealed when he's looked in that Gibbons and Lang are actually one single creature with two heads, hence the good cop, bad cop. Ooh, that effect is horrendous.
Yeah. 2002.
Two.
Small budget.
Trevor runs away, enters a morgue, and just as he's about to uncover a dead body in the operating table, Pinhead arrives and reveals the truth to Trevor. So this is Doug Bradley's 2 minutes in this movie. Reality, Kirsty is in fact still alive. Trevor cheated on his wife with many other women and tried to get rid of Kirsty by making her reopen the lament configuration. She did, but before being taken away forever, she made one last deal with Pinhead. Oh, Pinhead loves a fucking bargain.
Yeah.
And him and Kirsty, they've been making bargains for far too long.
He'd be great on a Porn Stars, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Brings a commit configuration in. That's a good deal.
$20.
Yeah.
Highest I can go. She did make this bargain. And basically the deal is 5 souls in exchange for hers.
Yeah.
5 souls. So she killed 3 of Trevor's mistresses because Trevor got around.
Oh, he did put it
which
back,
is the neighbour, the masseuse, and the boss. They're the 3 women. And she killed Brett. So those events that Trevor was seeing actually happened, but not the way they happened.
Yeah.
And she killed Brett because he was conspiring with Trevor for the money that apparently Kirsty has.
Yeah.
I don't know where that money came from, but hey, what are you going to do? The person on the table isn't Kirsty, but it is in fact him.
Dun, dun, dun.
He's the 5th soul, and his entire time he's been in hell, living in some sort of limbo, reliving the events. Trying to rediscover his past and piece his life back together was his punishment for his disloyalty to his wife and his inability to accept who he actually was. So, you know, like he was like, I am a good guy. It's like, you're not, dude. You're not, dude. No. It's good, but let's be honest. It's very close to what we just saw in Inferno.
Yeah, and I say, like, you and that whole reveal thing, part of you might have gone, because you say when we was watching it, I wonder if he's dead already. It's the way round and things like that, because it wasn't looking like it could have been Kirsty. Kirsty could have just disappeared. It just wouldn't work out like that. So
yeah. And it basically, she pinned all the murders on Trevor and shot Trevor through the head while he was driving, leading him to crash the car into the river and making his death appear as a suicide. I'm a little bit iffy on this one because she shoots him in the side of the head.
Yeah, the angle of that.
That's not suicide.
No.
I mean, it's going to be very hard. I mean, if they're going to do forensics and all that, which they would, I don't know if that's going to hold up.
Yeah.
At all, but then like she goes, like she's happy. She doesn't get out of the car. The car crashes. She gets out that way. So she could go down the route of, I found out we were arguing and he shot himself in the head. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
The film ends with Kirsty walking away from the car crash scene with a lament configuration in her hand, and that's that. So I think this one sits squarely in the middle, doesn't it?
Because there's elements I liked. It was nice seeing Kirsty getting her own back on her husband.
Finale ending, I guess.
Getting her own kind of back on him.
Yeah.
You do kind of think, are you actually going to find a nice person in your life, Kirsty? It's like, is this like a eternal curse that you're going through? Cause you'd hope you'd find someone nicer than that. But yeah, so the fact that I've meshed it with other films doesn't say much for it, really.
I think this one stands up more, though, than Inferno. I remember this more.
It does, because of the whole Kirsty
angle, okay.
You know, yeah, that's why I remember it more.
Yeah, but it does fall squarely in the middle, like a 5, 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
At most, that kind of situation. Can't hold a candle to the original, and is arguably the last good one for a long time.
Yeah.
A long time. Yes, indeedy. Deader. So there were 2 released in 2005, Deader and Hellworld. So let's get through them. Directed by Rick Bota. The original script was written by Neil Marshall Stevens. Like the previous 2 entries in the series, Inferno and Hellseeker, it is a totally unrelated script, which was rewritten by Tim Day as a Hellraiser film. Fuck me, is this one that just is jamming it in.
Oh, yeah.
Good God,
More than any of the others, I reckon.
Cast. Carrie Wooher as Amy Klein, the main star in almost every fucking shot, it seems.
Yeah.
Doug Bradley as Pinhead. He's here for a minute, 2 minutes at most. Paul Reese as Winter Lemarchnard.
Marchand.
That one. So he's supposed to be an ancestor, a descendant of the original toy maker, jamming it in. Simon Kunz as Charles Richmond. Mark Warren as Joey. Georgina Rylance as Marla. And Ionette Chermensky as group leader. So let's get something out of here straight away. The problem with Winter, Paul Rees and Winter, the descendant of the toy maker. Why did this not come up in Bloodline? Why did this not particular story come up in Bloodline?
Oh, yeah.
It involves the box. It's part and parcel of the events. We're being told the events that have occurred with Bloodline and the events. You say, oh, well, they missed that son. No. If the story's being told from the perspective of the character, why would he miss out such an important, integral time where one of his descendants got killed, just like the others did?
Why couldn't have had it where he found out he was? Like, Pinhead told him, though, you
because they jammed this in. They fucking jammed this in.
It says at the time, you could have said, like, it was like a reveal, like, who do you think you are? Pinhead took him around and said, you are related.
Or just none of it.
Yeah.
Not related at all. Just doesn't need it.
There's enough shit for us to kind of critique anyway about that.
It's honestly, it's one of those dumbest where it's like, there's no need for that. You just were desperately trying to find things. As I said, going for it, going, let's change that name. And that's a Hellraiser link.
Yeah.
No. The story. Reporter Amy Klein is sent to Bucharest at the behest of her boss, Charles Simon Kunz, to investigate a videotape that depicts a ritualistic murder and subsequent reanimation of a member of a cult calling themselves the Deaders. It's not even good English. Why are you listening to a cult?
Why like Deadheads? Because then that could be like a link to like a whole. People might think it's linked to drugs or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh no.
Everything about this opening sequence of events, from Amy Klein as it opens, where she's doing an expose on Drug Den, which is horrible, also makes her seem like a wholly unlikable character. She just walks out, even though one of them even tried, like she's befriended one of them, and it's like, oh, so you're not even going to try to help these people? Yeah. You just want to write it for your paper.
And it's nothing new. Like, it's 2002. It's not like it's like back in the days where, you know, like
2005.
So I'm taking myself back in time, but. Yeah, like, it's just to show that she's spunky and she's independent, which is why she goes to Bucharest.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Like, without that, we wouldn't have got the fact that woman could be a reporter. We had to have it rammed in that. Oh, look at her. She's like hip. She's like on the edge of
society. Yeah. She don't play by anyone's rules. Not even her own rules. That's how much of a rule breaker she is. Not even her own rules, Lou. Incredible. Yeah, she's wholly unlikable. And I don't think she's a good actor. I don't think Carrie Wurr is particularly good in this either. It could be down to a lot of the writing and the character, not necessarily her, because it's just a bad film overall. The scenes between her and Simon, her boss at this newspaper magazine, I don't even know what the fuck it is horrendous. It's like this back and forth where they're both trying to one up each other as who's the most. Like, he's being super sarcastic and like, oh yeah, you know, and stuff like that with his British accent, and she's like, oh, smoking and like, I do what I want, and it's crap like that. And
only reason I knew his face was from the Parent Trap remake. He was like the Dippy Butler.
Oh, I had no idea who he was.
The English Family. I was like, oh god, that takes me out of it.
But the worst thing of all is that they would even follow this lead. Like, you've been sent a videotape that suggests. Why would you even believe for a second that's true? And you'd be like, well, that's obviously fake.
Yeah, and 2002. 2005, 3 years later, you could put shit together. And why not using DVDs? 2005 people. VHS is dead.
They're hip, they're cool, they're the Deaders. Anyway, Amy tracks down the return address of the tape and discovers the corpse of its sender, Marla, holding lament configuration. How, why, what has that got to do with anything? But she's holding it in the bathroom. And it's sort of done as a scare scene where she's trying to reach it but not touch the body. The body shifts. And then at the end, of course, the body wakes up and grabs her arm. But no, it's just her imagination. You know, scary. She returns to her hotel and opens the box. This is what I swear this is maybe the first time when we probably went. This is becoming a joke.
Yeah, I think she does it actually. Like she takes her jacket off while she's smoking a cigarette and then starts cracking into it. I don't think it's like any kind of real concentration to open it. It's like, make me believe that it's, you know, want to be opened it.
Yep, it is not good at all. So she opens the box, Pinhead turns up, that's about it, there's nothing else to it. Admittedly, I think we were both in the same mind here, we were like, oh, we're doing this again, so everything that happens afterwards is just not real.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've done in the last two films, and now she's opened the box, surely that's the case.
Yeah.
No, that isn't. What happened there? What? I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
The rules of the box have completely changed. What happens? It just seems to be like you open the box and Pinhead's like, hey guys!
I'm back. Yeah.
We're gonna fuck with you for a bit. See you in a while. Yeah, that's Sarah's jam.
Yeah.
Very, very different to what we started off in the original movie. But she delves into Bucharest's subculture and ends up meeting Joey, who warns her about the Deaders and notices that Amy has a, as he puts it, self-destructive thing. So this is the train sequence. I mean, we both hate it.
Yeah, it's a train carriage at the back of the train that's they've turned into sort of like a sort of sex club, anything goes kind of club. One scene, Mark Warren's getting tattoos, having sex, another, anything goes, you know. Think of all the elements you could put into one train carriage.
Yep.
It pulls into a brightly lit modern train station in Romania.
It's a working train. People are getting on.
Yeah, it's a working train, and it's like, it's not Mirage, like doesn't look like a normal, and it even looks different colour.
Yep.
It opens with a security guard on one of the doors to let Amy in, because it's like, you know, no shoes, no shit plot.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, no Adidas. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not coming in. But you could have had an underground club without having a frigging train. I don't know if this has come from like word of mouth, where there is on like a real rickety old train. No, but it just wouldn't happen. But yeah, it's another element of
it's dumb
bullshit.
It is downright dumb. We said the better idea would have been to have a disused train carriage. So like you sneak off maybe down the tracks, and then there's like a door and you go in there and that's where the party is.
Yeah, under the railway arches.
Yep.
Like the amount of times, like I say, I've been to places that are like built under the.
It's so fucking a moving active train in an underground system that has security in it, because we see it later with Amy where she has to hide blood from her security.
Yeah.
And this is just apparently okay. It's absurd, and what we get on it is just dumb. It's stuff to be like, look, it's like, oh, look, two women are kissing. Scandalous.
Yeah.
Mark Warren, we can't stress this enough, is horrendous. I don't think he's a terrible actor.
No.
I've seen him in good stuff.
Yeah, he was in not Asian Demons. He was in the Terry Pratchett we watched the other day. He was.
Oh, Mr. Tea Time. Yeah. Mark Warren's fine. Mark Warren is fine, but this is just horrendous.
Yeah.
He can't do sleazy well. He can't do sexy. This tight, like, oh yeah, I'm so cool kind of thing with his stupid outfit, stupid haircuts. Makes you go, mate, you look like a twat. And you are the equivalent of what people would say is a poser.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just awful. And the whole, oh, you're self-destructive, I like you.
You know, just fucking met her.
It's just dumb.
Ugh, yeah.
So Amy continues to pursue leads. A lot of boring shit going on here. And eventually tracks down Winter, Paul Reese, the leader of the cult. He's a descendant of the toy maker who designed the puzzle box and believes he is destined to access the realm of the Cenobites and become their master. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
But he can't open the box himself. He believes that only an individual exhibiting trauma-induced nihilism can open the box. What?
It's a stretch, isn't it?
What? What the fuck is that? To this end, he founded the Deaders and attracted emotionally vulnerable people, followers, so that he could kill them and then reanimate them when they could try to open the box. I mean, it's just, what the fuck is that? What is that? I mean, first, if you're like, right, cool. How did you jump to that end? That's a fucking leap, right? But then also, like, okay, cults, all that, I'm fine with that. But, like, Deaders? I just can't get past you. We're like, we need a name. We need a nickname.
Deaders. Oh, it's so
Deaders.
shit.
Deaders. It's terrible. And he does this to Amy, resulting in her basically experiencing a dream where she relives her father's physical and sexual abuse, and she murdered him as a child. And this is stuff that this movie did not need, as we find out that Amy's a damaged individual, and that she was abused by her father, and she eventually killed him.
Yeah.
Didn't need it, right?
Didn't need it.
Because, like, here's the thing: doesn't change my feelings on her as a character.
Like her.
Don't like her, right? No. It's a bit, it's no, it's not on. It's not on. You know, we get this sort of sequence as well which is probably the best part of the movie, where she's like thinks it's a dream in a hotel room, wakes up and finds she's got a knife in her body, and she can't get it out. And it is pretty chaotic because she's trying to find a way to get the knife out. She's not feeling any pain.
Yeah, going towards going towards the cupboard and trying to, like,
close the cupboard door and then pull.
That was quite good. That was quite well acted because it actually looked like it's painful.
Best sequence of the movie.
Yeah,
best sequence of the movie. But eventually she gets back there and opens the box and summons the Cenobites. Pinhead expresses disdain for Winter and his family, denying that any mortal could ever control the Cenobites. Fine.
Yeah.
Yep. And then he slaughters the Deaders. Kills them all. Remember this part? The giant chain?
Oh, we had all lined up.
They're all lined up perfectly, so the
Nice
chain can
movie.
go all through them.
Yeah, rather than taking a bit more time in the CGI to make the chain weave and find them, hunt them down. No, they're all standing in straight lines. Like,
Yep.
not really.
It's a horrible CGI chain that goes through everyone's chest.
Yep.
It's shit.
Could have done more creative ways of killing them.
Yep. After he's killed all of them, he now tells them, well, you're indebted to us because you opened the box. Your father's in hell. Come join him, basically. And rather than be taken, Amy chooses to kill herself, resulting in the box closing and sending out an electrical charge, which is a new thing, that banishes the Cenobites back to hell and causes the Deaders compound to explode.
Yeah.
So Amy dies, the box closes, everyone's dead, end of story.
Yeah.
So it seems. Later, Charles, unaware of Amy's whereabouts, assigns a new female journalist to investigate the tape. Because apparently he's still on about that. And the film ends with a reporter holding up the puzzle box, which has been recovered from the destroyed compound. This is one of the worst. This is one of the worst, if not the worst.
Yeah. Characters don't care about. Ridiculous plot. Just awful.
Normally you're like, well, at least we're going to get Doug Bradley in a bit. Even him, like, he's so underwhelming in this. The part he plays, the job he has to do is just so like, oh, that's it. You're just now here to pop in, wrap up the story, wrap up the end of the story for us, you know,
that's
basically that, and then go. And that's the end of it. I'm struggling to find decent positives here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But only one positive, it was so shit it stood out for both of us.
Yeah, we remember this one well.
Yeah.
I think you're right, actually. I think you're right, actually. The best I can say is this stands out for all the wrong reasons, but I remember a hell of a lot about it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, we had fun watching it. We did have fun watching these films because it's like, this is so bad, and we're just like, God, can you believe this did that, and so on, you know?
Just like ripping into him.
Yeah. So that's a fun aspect. And it continues with the marginally better, but fucking confusing, Hellworld, 2005.
Oh, God, yeah.
Directed by Rick Bota, again. The Hellwood script is based on a short story called Dark Can't Breathe by Joe Searson, which makes sense when you see the film. The film stars Lance Henriksen in the role of the host. Henriksen had actually been originally approached to play the role of Frank Cotton in the original movie, which is great to sort of see him come back in a film. I can't imagine Lance Henriksen doing Frank because Frank at the time was super sexy and Lance Henriksen not so much.
No, like, because he was from Aliens, isn't Alien?
The sequel Aliens, but many other films, Near Dark, stuff like that.
And he's always got quite craggy face.
Indeed.
So he's sounding rugged but not craggy.
And it's interesting we said it because Henriksen turned the offer down in favour of a starring role in the vampire thriller Near Dark, which is, if you've never seen, a great vampire movie. Unfortunately, got buried by Lost Boys. Same time.
Oh, I've seen it.
Western? Horror? Vampire? I'll have to check that out in the future.
Oh, that's another one.
I think it's a great film.
Yeah.
Very, very dark. But unfortunately, Lost Boys came out roughly the same time.
It's like overshadowed.
And we all know the rest of that. It's also the final film. Hellworld is the final film to feature actor Doug Bradley as Pinhead. So exit stage left, stage right, enter stage left, exit stage right, right? Something like that. Anyway. Cast. Doug Bradley as Pinhead. Lance Henriksen as the host. Catherine Winnick as Chelsea. Christopher Jacot as Jake. Kyrie Payton as Derek. I forgot. Henry Cavill as Mike. Anna Tulpa as Alison. And Stellan Araya as Adam. Let's get out right now. Yes, this is, of course, Henry Cavill of Superman, Witcher fame. He is a young, late teen, early 20s man in this. And he's not good in this.
No, he's a bit of a douche.
His character is a douche.
Yeah, and it's just not great.
And unfortunately, if you've ever seen any douchey American bro, I want to have sex character in your life, which you will have, that's it. That's it.
And I recognise Catherine Winnick from Vikings.
Oh, you've said before.
She's like main role in Vikings as Lagertha. I honestly thought her accent's really. I don't know accents, so I pretty much said her accent was rubbish in Vikings, but her accent was quite convincing. So I thought she was from.
Oh, from
like
Norway, Scandinavia.
Yeah, like a Nordic country. Yeah. But no, she's American, from what I can sort of gather.
Okay, so there's cast that we know then. And let's be honest, Lance Henriksen is a seller. He is. It's Lance Henriksen, even when he's not really trying, which is a lot actually. He still has presence. He's got a great voice. He's got a great look, and rarely I've ever seen him do anything bad. Like even if the movie's terrible, he can be quite captivating.
Yeah, when you watch it on the screen, you want to hear him talk.
Like when his name comes up the credits, I go, oh, sweet.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
alright.
Well, no, but I'm like, oh, at least he'll be alright.
Yeah, a bit better than normal.
And he is quite a starring role in this. He is quite an integral thing. It's not like a in and out job
Yeah.
for him, not at all. However, the story is one of the most puzzling stories and generally head scratching. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because it introduces a circle of kids, young teenagers, who are all addicted to playing Hellworld. And basically, Hellworld is a video game based on the Hellraiser franchise, which opens up a massive can of worms of, wait.
Look, can of worms. A massive element configuration.
But yeah, so basically, it makes you go, oh, wait, so Hellraiser's a franchise in this.
Yeah.
Are we doing Blair Witch 2 here?
All...
Don't do Blair Witch 2.
Yeah.
Film within a film. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
But this is, right?
Yeah.
And what really bugs me is when you see shots of the game, you have like the Pinhead character in the game going, oh, tear your soul apart. And I'm like, but that's even more confusing because that's tagline. You're saying, oh, and they never actually clear this up.
No.
They never actually do because later we'd see, later we would see that the story of the lament configuration and the source and bloodline is true. Wait, what is it then?
Yeah.
Films were made based on them?
I just feel like they forgot that film. Thought, this is the last film with Doug Bradley. Let's just finish.
The cover of the game. I remember. The cover of the game is also the cover of the video. The cover that you know of the DVD with him standing there and like the blue background.
Yeah.
Ah, Hellworld. But the film opens at the funeral of Adam, one of our friends who was so obsessed with the game, they committed suicide apparently. He got too immersed in it and committed suicide. The remaining 5 friends all blame themselves for not having prevented Adam's suicide. It's a very slow intro. A lot of in this church where apparently there's next to no one else there.
Yeah, and the friends a couple of them were quite disrespectful for
Yep.
being at a funeral. Like introducing them as douches straight away.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of like you just sort of judging. Okay, so you're at your friend's funeral, like rein it in a little bit. You've got enough film to be a douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a great intro for these guys. Just care about them.
No. 2 years later, they are all going to attend a private Hellworld party, which is set at an old mansion after they receive invites for the game. So apparently in the game, if you complete the puzzle, which some of them continue to play, you will get an invite to this special party at this mansion. And it's all like, oh yeah, special guests, yeah, you have to complete and all that. Except you print that out. Print times 20.
Yeah.
Right? Ain't that fucking print times
No.
50.
Yeah.
It ain't that fucking like super secret. Idiots. There, the group are welcomed by the party host, who offers them drinks, shows them around the mansion, which apparently, we get, is allegedly a former convent and asylum, also built by Philip Lemonchard. Lemon guy. And provides them all with cell phones to communicate with guests. So, let's just say why. So, the cell phones are, no one will know you wear masks.
Oh, yeah.
So, if you want to hook up and do shit like that, you text each other on these phones that are
yeah.
on isolated lines or something like that. It's very, very convoluted.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of phones, but this is your jam.
Oh, it was just like a long Nokia advert. And like, it does take you back though to like the old shitty phones. And like, if someone was doing hook up, they just text your mask number or I think it was your number. There was a way of identifying each other. Like I think you were a number, and I'm sure like it was on. I don't know if you have like a badge or like, I can't remember. It was a label. There was a number.
Something, numbers. Yeah.
T20, like 21. I like you or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a really cheap setup to have like all these guys go off in different places and stuff like that, but still be able to communicate. Given like it might be really shit reception.
Well, isn't the idea that there is no phone reception? This is what the phones are.
Oh, so he's like his own. Oh yeah.
How and why and all that,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
this entire segment is plot hole everywhere.
It's too long as well.
We get full on wandering around the house. We get full on experience and stuff like that, but also like here it just opens up so many questions. First of all, it's a very busy party. It's meant to look like you got like a rotating box and stuff like that, and it's all that butt rock music, and everyone's like dancing and drinking. Yeah, party, gonna get laid tonight, bro.
Yeah.
It's an American party, but no one asks the biggest question. I mean, it's asked by characters, but not a sensible question. Why? Who is this guy, and why?
My other issue was, I don't know if you think it's different. He took this group and gave them a really long intro, like a really long introduction to the house and what's going on. A lot of people at a party wanted to do for everyone. Every single person at a party. I mean, I think there's a group of 5 of them. There's a good couple hundred people he did that intro for all of them. I mean, did he specify why those are special?
Well, yeah, we do know why it's special because he wants to kill them all. So arguably,
Yeah, no, but if he does, what? Why just those 5? Did it specify?
Yeah, because he wants to kill them all.
Well, all of them, all 200 people.
Oh, not 200 people.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're just for the cover, aren't they? To make it look like it's a proper party. Because he wants to kill these 5. Let's get it out right now. These 5 are all.
Right, okay.
He's Adam's father, and he blames them for the death of his son.
Yep. Right.
Yep. Your mum went completely blank, didn't it?
I blocked out, like a traumatic experiences, your brain kind of blocks them out.
In fact, earlier on it happens. Yeah, it happens as he gives them all drinks, and we later find that those drinks were spiked, and they fell unconscious then. So all the events that are about to occur afterwards never actually happened. It's part of their fever dreams and subliminal messaging that he is pumping into the coffins that they are in, buried under the ground.
Yes, it was all come screaming back to me now.
Yep.
Because I think I asked this question at the time. I think after we watched it, a few weeks after we watched it, I said, that was a shit point. Like, he introduced the whole...
Presumably he didn't.
Yeah.
Presumably he didn't.
He didn't just for them 5, but it looks like he did.
Like when everyone turned up, he sort of maybe had a loudspeaker and said, "Hey, there's your phones. Do what you want."
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Just party. Extras party. Yeah.
So, and it's lots of party stuff. The party progression, Alison, Derek and Mike find themselves trapped in separate parts of the house and are gruesomely killed by the host, Pinhead and Cenobites. They all just turn up here in some sort of sequences. There's nothing fucking spectacular. No. There's a part in the basement area with a hook and shit like that. Easy to sort of just gloss over. The two important ones. It's Jake and Chelsea, who become apparently invisible to other party guests and then are stalked throughout the house. Holding herself up in the attic, Chelsea finds items that belong to Adam and discovers that the host is his father, who blames his son's friends for not helping him break his addiction. Chelsea and Jake try to flee, only to discover that they've actually been buried alive and are receiving messages from the host via cell phones in their respective caskets. The host informs them that they are just coming out of a hallucination induced by a powerful psychedelic he exposed to them when they first arrived. Yep. And the events they've been experienced have been a result of hypnotic suggestion and their own consciousness. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool twist.
Yeah, bad guy explaining everything, or just...
It's a cool twist if it wasn't a Hellraiser movie.
Yeah, we said that, didn't we? So it could have been quite an I quite like if they did less party time, more gruesome stuff. It could have been quite entertaining, a standalone story. Yep.
In fact, Hellraiser is almost absent from this movie. You get this Pinhead thing where he kills someone. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Who opened the box? Why is he doing this? Is he slave to the host? Like, doesn't make any sense at all. But before leaving, he lets Chelsea know that Alison, Derek, and Mike have all perished in their respective caskets, and that only she and Jake are still alive. As Chelsea begins to slip into another hallucination, she's abruptly pulled out of the ground by police and paramedics, who say they were informed by a phone call from Chelsea's telephone. So once Chelsea's out, she looks towards the house and sees Adam standing in the window. What?
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
So he ghostly called?
Yeah.
Now, how does that work? What is that? Again, works as a horror film on its own without the Hellraiser aspect. Yeah. And you must be thinking, well, wow, guys, you've really glossed over this one in regards to the Hellraiser aspect. That's because it's so fucking little. Yeah. So much of this movie, I would say 30 to 40 minutes, are our secondary characters getting killed off in Hellraiser-y ways, trying to tie it in.
Slightly sorry as well. I remember they're slightly sorry ways. They're not...
Sorry?
From Saw.
Oh, Saw.
Saw.
Yeah, I'm like, sorry ways. Saw-esque. Yeah, like the hook one in the basement, which involves Henry Cavill's character. That involves Pinhead, and it's just like, why and how and what? Yeah. But later, this is where they really just jammed it in and went, okay, well, look, we need some proper links. Yeah. As the host is in the bedroom going through a suitcase that contains Adam's possessions, he finds and opens the actual lament configuration, which summons the real Cenobites. Pinhead praises Adam's ingenuity and mocks the host's disbelief before the chatterer and bound Cenobites tear him to pieces. Later, Jake and Chelsea receive a mysterious phone call from the host, who suddenly appears in the backseat of their car. The two almost crash, but are able to stop it. And the last scene shows the police entering the bedroom in which the host opened the box. Blood everywhere, and the box is lying on the floor. And it's like, oh my God, that's it. That's your ending. Yeah. What? And again, it's just like, wait, constantly. What?
Yeah.
Why?
Just say this is like the best example of
jammed. Yeah, this is the best example. Yeah. Arguably worse for jamming in than Deader was.
Yeah, because like I said, like the whole idea of being buried alive, hallucinogenics, don't want him a Wenge for his son's death. Yeah, it made sense, and And there's been stories of like kids getting addicted to games and stuff. Yeah, go down a dark route that he killed himself, you know, and it still could have had a horrible ending, you know, because the kid's not going to come back. You know, no one's going to benefit from the revenge you take, and that would still have been quite dark.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think if you could literally take the entire story as it is, which is what it is, and ignore it being it's a video game. Just an addictive video game.
Yeah.
That's all it is, not Hellraiser related. You've got the entire story set up again. The same with the house, it's just a house party. Everything's the same. Their deaths are just by monsters. Things that they're seeing through their hallucinations, not specifically to do with Hellraiser. Yeah. And then at the very end, and everything plays out as it should, nothing Hellraiser-y, and at the end, the host in the bedroom, to add a certain level of sadness to it, kills himself in the bedroom.
Yeah. And then that's your blood. Or you could have like, did they take revenge at a wake, inviting people to the wake and splitting them off and doing something?
Yep.
No, could have just gone so many routes.
It would have been a perfectly fine film on that aspect. But the Hellraiser aspect, you have to take, unfortunately. And you're like, well, you've made this a Hellraiser film. Is it a good Hellraiser film? No. It's not. Because it's bare bones bollocks that, again, confuses the lore. And makes you go, wait, how and why and what? Huh? And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Constantly going, huh? And here's the other aspect. Like, there's no memorable characters.
No.
No memorable characters. No. You can't even say Lance Henriksen's the host is a memorable character. We remember it because it's Lance Henriksen.
Yeah.
But tell me any aspect of the characters that we saw, the ones that are picked off and the ones that survived, that you remember.
No. I remember there's one that doesn't want to get involved with the game again, but then is coerced by everyone else.
The main lead. That's the main lead. That's Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, but
agrees to go along with it. What's his name? Where is he? Jake, is it? Jake. Like, he's an outsider to the group, but still comes to the party, which made no sense to me.
No.
Made no sense to me. And then they end up becoming a couple at the end, it implies. Like, because trauma puts people together. That whole fucking angle. But yeah, the whole ghosty aspect of Adam as well. What?
Yeah.
What's that?
Shit.
Yeah. I'd love to say it gets better.
Yeah.
We now reach what is often considered the worst by most people. It was considered the worst by Liam. Yep. And let's see if we remember how much we remember from it before we decide.
I remember a fair bit.
Hellraiser Revelations 2011. Written by Gary J. Tunnicliffe and directed by Victor Garcia. The film was produced in a matter of weeks due to the obligation on Dimension Films' part to release another Hellraiser film or risk losing the rights to the film series. We're off to a winner. Aren't we off to a fucking winner? Due to the quick turnaround and the rush production, Doug Bradley said, nah, mate, not doing this one.
No, I'm not going to rush myself to do this dog shit.
However, I will say this, but you were okay with the... What was it? You were worried they were going to damage the legacy?
Yeah.
What have we just talked through, Doug?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit odd that he'd go, no, this is too far.
Cast.
God.
Stephen Brand as Ross Craven. Stephen Smith Collins as Pinhead. There's our new Pinhead. Fred Tatasciore as the voice of Pinhead.
Yeah. It's a mess already.
Nick Eversman as Stephen Craven. Tracy Fairway as Emma Craven. Sebastian Roberts as Peter Bradley. Devon Sorvari as Sarah Craven. And Sanny Van Hertwin as Kate Bradley. So let's just talk about that wank straight away. So, like, there's our two families.
Yep.
The two families and the two main stars. Craven and Bradley. So, why? And what puzzles me? Why Craven? Why not Barker? You do know Wes Craven's not Hellraiser, right?
Maybe it's a little extra, little dig of okay, Doug Bradley's not involved. Fuck it, I'm not.
No, because they've named characters Bradley, so clearly they're like, well, look, we'll honour Doug by naming some characters Bradley.
Yeah.
Why Craven? Why not Barker?
Odd one. Yeah.
And I can't help but go, you didn't know Clive Barker was responsible. You whoever did this, thinks it was Wes Craven. Like, this is how shit you all are and how lazy. You didn't even bother Googling it.
Yeah.
And you don't know the source material. You went, yeah, it was Wes Craven,
wasn't it? It just comes across as lazy because it would have made more sense to be Barker family. Why
of course it'd be. Why not?
It's a surname.
Like, Barker and Bradley, they're the two people that you go, Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Craven. Yeah. So, all right, let's presume they're not that stupid. let's presume they're not that stupid.
Yeah.
So you just wanted a nod to a famous horror director.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
You didn't have to.
It's not clever.
No.
You're not the first to do it.
No, definitely not.
And by choosing Craven, it just comes across even dumber.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Story. It's not going to get any better. Stephen Craven and Nico Bradley run away from home and travel to Mexico. They're on a holiday and they go to Mexico. But it's implied they ran away from home because the family are later like looking for them and stuff. And they film themselves engaging in several days' worth of drunken pie and hedonistic behaviour, you know, and stuff like that. A lot of fan footage style here.
Yeah. Ooh, we like that.
The boys, though, later disappear, and the Mexican authorities return their belongings to their parents, including the videotape made by Stephen that documents their final moments. A year later, the families of the two missing boys have gathered for dinner. Tensions rise when Emma, Stephen's sister, and Nico's girlfriend express frustration with the lack of closure. She demands that her mother reveals the contents of Stephen's videotape, which apparently her mother has been obsessively watching in private.
She didn't fucking look it away, though, did she?
Yeah, this is a weird one. It's in a bag, in a room.
Yeah. It's not locked away. He hasn't got, like, bust into any drawers to get keys to get it out. It's just literally in a duffel bag in the bedroom.
Yeah, so, like, your mother went out.
Yeah,
Watch it.
days. Yeah. Fucking weird.
Yeah. But then later it's like, well, fuck it. I'm going to sneak in and look at the tape. And it documents Stephen and Nico picking up a girl in a bar. We see it as flashback, where it reveals that Nico murdered the girl while having sex in the bar's restroom. And later threatened to implicate Stephen in the killing to force him to continue their vacation together. So, like, Nico's the real kind of villainous character of him. Whoa, did I have a big problem with this?
But it wasn't... in the video, it wasn't implied that at first that it was the girl, it was the boyfriend cheating on her. That she was... We didn't know why she was getting upset.
We didn't realise that Nico was her boyfriend. We just thought it was Stephen's sister.
Yeah, well, she was upset that seeing her brother... Well, you would have seen your family act like a complete tool. So...
No, I agree.
Yeah, it wasn't made clear. Like,
it wasn't made clear at all.
maybe have like a photo of him by the bedside, you know, or something to go.
Just
like a nice romantic. Having a picture of them kissing together.
Have like no one to talk about closure and be like, I want closure for Stephen and my boyfriend Nico. And we'd be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, exposition. But thank you.
Why not?
Yeah.
Just jam it in.
Not.
But that's not my big problem with this. My big problem is the fact that Stephen goes along with it afterwards.
Yeah.
Because Nico's like, well, you were here, you implied. The videotape is evidence you didn't.
Yeah.
The videotape is literal fucking evidence you did not.
Yeah.
Because you blacked out and stuff like that. It would be very, very hard to pin that on you.
Yeah.
It's just not, it doesn't work for me.
No.
But then Stephen suddenly returns home, but he's mostly catatonic. He's not talking. You won't tell him. The others want to know where Nico is, but he's not saying anything. More flashbacks reveal that Nico actually solved the puzzle box, got given it, or bought it from a merchant or something, and we got given it by like a hobo.
Yeah, in
the bar, which obviously opened a portal to the realm of the Cenobites. Stephen fled, but Nico was taken to the Cenobite realm to be subjected to extreme torture, mutilation, blah, blah, blah. We've seen it before. The box is nearby, and basically Nico uses the box to communicate with Stephen from wherever he is. Stephen, going off the deep end, later kills several prostitutes so their blood can regenerate Nico. But Stephen, having had enough, refuses to help him any further. And the thing that is too far is that the prostitute he's going to kill has a child.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't realise that at first, does he?
No, you hear baby crying in the background.
Yeah, and he's like, oh.
And he's like, I'm out. And as he goes to leave, Nico kills Stephen. There is a dark scene where like you hear the baby's cry cut off. I don't mind that. It's a bit like, ooh, that's a bit much.
Yeah, it's really dark. And so he didn't have to show anything. Just the fact that the kid was crying so loud, and then the implication of what happened is like, that's pretty nasty.
So during all this, in current times, because we flash between the two, Stephen has gone crazy apparently and got a gun, shot his own father, and is holding the family hostage. This followed a pretty creepy scene where he kind of tried it on with his sister, and she seemed to be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, like,
it was weird.
Yeah,
like he touches her breast, and she's like, and later after we'll find it, we'll reveal it now that it's not actually Stephen, it's Nico.
Yeah,
she doesn't know that.
Yeah, I thought first has he got.
Like, did they have this beforehand?
They didn't make it obvious, but like, does he have some sort of possession over her, or some sort of way of, tricking her a little bit? Because otherwise, that's fucking weird.
So yeah, it's Nico using Stephen's skin to hold a family hostage and so on. The actor, which is where have I got him? Nick Eversman.
Oh, the dad.
No, Nick Eversman, who plays Stephen.
Sorry, yeah.
So obviously, he's supposed to be evil. He's all Nico and all that. This is horrendous. I'm gonna say this now. His villain is so fucking bad. It is honestly one of the worst things to watch. We have glossed over certain aspects as well, like the Hobart that turns up aside and attacks one of the fathers of the group, and he dies, which is what prompts the whole situation. Basically, the Cenobites have come to get Nico. Nico escaped. You're not getting away.
Yeah.
And he wants Emma to open the box so he can trade the families away to get
back,
like to leave me be kind of thing. But he's terrible.
I thought the families as well, but like the families were bad as well, like the dads. There's no his level of panic is the same when someone's breaking, like when someone's trying to break in or shooting the other dad. To all the stuff that goes down. There's no real like panic.
Urgency. Desperation.
Urgency is the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, this is another normal night in the middle of nowhere in LA or where they're fucking living.
It is. It's not good. And the character of Emma, Tracy Fairway, she, from this point on, her entire role is look tearful. Look like you're ready to cry but not crying.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly. And he wants Emma to open the box. For some reason, we cut and then we come back and Emma's sitting on a table surrounded by candles. Were candles a necessity?
And they're all like little tea lighty ones. That was like a fucking ball ache to put them all, set them all up. Like, how long are you going to wait for this stuff? Because you're going to blow one now, someone's going to knock one. Oh, pain in the ass.
And of course, because the box can be opened now by simply blowing on it.
Oh, yeah.
The box is opened by Emma and the Cenobites, including Stephen, appear. And so Stephen is basically mini Pinhead. Now, he actually looks better than actual Pinhead.
He does.
Because his thing is that he's like collecting pieces of flesh from his victims to put his head back together. And his nails are less refined.
Rust, like, that kind of... I really like it because I say it's kind of like in work in progress. You kind of see what it takes to make up the Pinhead and stuff, like another kind of version of Pinhead. Yeah, I quite like that.
I agree. I had no problem with that aspect as well. But Nika's mother's killed here, as she constantly won't shut up. Like Pinhead just kills her. The new Pinhead, we should say as well. We can talk to her blue in the face about him. He looks awful. He looks awful. The makeup is terrible. He's short. He's got a very plump, round face, plump, round lips. His lips aren't drawn to correctly fit the rest of his white face, so they're quite full-blooded.
It just doesn't look right.
It doesn't look right. And the voice, the hilarious thing is...
What's wrong with his voice?
They used a different voice actor and the voice doesn't work either. No. I just want to know what the original actor sounded like.
Yeah.
That you thought, no, that's not going to work.
For English people, Joe Pasquale.
Oh.
I would have preferred that, really.
It would at least been funny.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nico says he brought them so they'd take Emma in his place, but in Pinhead's like, nah, bruv, that doesn't know how it works. No. He snares them on hooks. Emma's father ends up shooting Nico. The Cenobites vanish when Emma's mother instead said that they were owed a victim since Nico was dead. Her father apologised and dies in Emma's arm. And the film ends with Emma reaching for the puzzle box. Wow!
That's got a bit of an insult, though, if Pinhead doesn't want you. Take me. No, you're alright. I mean, a bit of an insult.
Well, he kind of... he causes the death of others because he's simply like, I'm going to kill that guy instead. And he actually does Nico a favour because now Nico won't suffer.
Yeah, so
it's like, that's not really a villain getting his comeuppance, is it? No, this is a bad film. Everything about this is bad. The story is shit. It's shit, it's been done, and it doesn't work because the two teenage boys, that hedonistic having party lifestyle, goes from that to I murdered a prostitute in a bar.
Yeah, it just...
Whoa!
Boy, that escalated quickly.
It did.
Yeah, it did.
And at no point did we kind of get that feeling that that's what Nico was like.
Yeah, it's just very sudden and very cliche. Oh, two young lads in Mexico. Like,
and with their drunk scenes at the bar when they get the box, it's just like, okay. And all Nico does is scowl, I want to party hard and stuff like that. And it's like, no, this isn't working for me. And then obviously when he comes back as Stephen acting and he's a villain then, it's just so cheesy. Can't express how poorly acted it is. He's talked about the lack of urgency in the family, the lack of taking control. All right, he has a shotgun, but it's one of those where it's like, he's not threatening. He's the character, the actor, the look of him, he's not threatening. No. And then obviously the Hellraiser aspects, well, fine, the box gets open, it's a bit more Hellraiser-y at least. The box gets open, they want victims, some have escaped like Frank did. How and why, it's the same stuff we've seen already. Yeah. But then obviously when we go to Pinhead's domain, it's just one room with chains. And it's like, oh, okay, that's it. And there's nothing that stands out in the positive way. There's no extra Cenobites that you think, oh, they look cool. No. And then you've got front and centre this new Pinhead, and you're like,
yeah,
you look terrible, mate.
Yeah.
You look terrible. And like, who cares? And that's the biggest thing. Who cares who lives or dies?
Yeah.
Who generally gives a fuck in this movie?
Shit.
Couldn't give a shit. Yeah. So it is a real low point of what has been a run of low points.
Yeah, definitely.
And we are at the end. We are here. We've been going a while, but we are here. It is the last one as of right now, as of the time of recording, February 2021, for Hellraiser Judgment 2018. Written and directed by the series' longtime special makeup effects artist Gary J. Tunnicliffe. He also plays the Inquisition Auditor in this, a prominent role in the film. Mm-hmm. Tunnicliffe asked Doug Bradley to return as the priest of Hell Pinhead. Bradley declined when he learned that he would be required to sign a non-disclosure agreement to read the script. That's a funny one there. I'm not sure what that means. I mean, I know what non-disclosure is. You cannot speak about this afterwards.
About it, yeah.
I wonder why that was a problem for Doug Bradley. Did it make... I suspect it might have made him suspicious. E.g., that script could be so bad.
Yeah.
That, like, I can't talk about it afterwards why I declined it.
Yeah, and then it kind of... You could come off as a dick if you said no to it.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like, oh, fucking Doug Bradley. He didn't want to be part
Thinks
of
he's
it.
above of it now, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if he was able to read it and go, that's not for me, and he's able to afterwards say, I decline it because I didn't like it.
Yeah. But then, could you not... That's not saying anything about the script. You can just say you didn't like it.
I don't know the details there. It's a bit of a puzzle one, but it obviously must have put Doug Bradley on the back foot.
Yeah.
And I can't say he's wrong.
Yeah.
Newcomer Paul T. Taylor was actually cast after impressing Tunnicliffe in an audition for another character. He and Tunnicliffe decided to develop a new look and interpretation rather than imitating Bradley's performance. Which,
yeah, fair point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right way to do it. Perhaps if they'd done it in Revelations, we might have come away a little bit happier.
Yep.
Cast. Damon Carney as Detective Sean Carter / the Perceptor. Randy Warren as Detective David Carter, brothers.
Yep.
Alexandria Harris as Detective Christine Egerton. Heather Langenkamp as the landlady. We'll come back to her in a second. Paul T. Taylor as Pinhead and Gary. We've been recording long. Gary J. Tunnicliffe as the Auditor. So back to Langenkamp. The reason why I have to go back to her is because she's high building this and mentioned everywhere you look. She is in like one scene. Yeah. This film is disgraceful for its lying there. It implies Heather Langenkamp is going to have a massive role in this. She plays a landlady. She's in one scene, never seen again.
That's it.
No, guys, no. The story in Hell, Pinhead and the Auditor of the Stygian Inquisition are discussing how to adapt their method of getting souls in the face of technology, making the lament configuration obsolete.
Moving the times, guys.
Cool. I don't mind it. Let's talk about... Should we just talk about Pinhead first?
Yeah.
As an introduction to him. And the look and the difference of what they went with here.
I liked his voice. What he did was... made him more like a priest. His costume was all joined. So it did look more... I liked it. It made him look more like a priest. He was commanding power, his voice.
The throne, the sort of chair he sits in.
Yeah, it's what I really wanted from
Shot in darkness, not overused. We like this Pinhead.
Yeah.
We like it. We're not gonna say nothing bad about him. On Earth, 3 detectives, brothers Sean, David, and Christine, are investigating a serial killer known as the Perceptor, whose murders are based on the 10 Commandments. A connection with one of the victims leads the detectives to Carl Watkins, a local criminal who went missing near an abandoned house. Sean himself goes to the house and loses consciousness, waking up in the Stygian Inquisition's domain to hell. So this house works as a gateway. And you go in and you're judged. Yeah. As the Inquisition prepares to hand down a verdict on Sean for his sins, the angel Jophiel intervenes and tells them to release him. Yeah. So we go through this cool experience of how this works. So let's try and explain this incredibly grim way they do this. And it involves you being asked questions while someone types. Right. That paper is then covered with tears, it looks like. Someone then comes in and eats it. He baths up the results. And then that's ate by a group of women out of troughs. Yeah. And that then leads you to being chained up and so on, and someone coming in, and that's the decider, I guess, on where your soul goes. Kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it's really dark. It does look, it could be like a sort of metal music video and things like that. Sort of very women's got their boobs out and it gets covered with like they get covered with it, didn't they?
Yeah.
They're kind of like waiting at a wall to receive all this stuff. Isn't it if it makes them really, if they keep it in, it's fine, or if they do they vomit? They vomit stuff as well, don't they?
No, it's all about the guy that vomits it out. Because with Sean, Sean, his is something's wrong with his that causes a bad reaction. A bad reaction.
I think the first time we see the process from start to finish at the
with
film,
a random
paedophile or something. I'm sure he's a paedophile.
It might be the guy they're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of have him and find out what he does, and like that works out okay. But obviously with him, the auditor goes fucking ape shit.
Yep.
It doesn't work as previously seen it. I suppose that's why you need the previous scene
to have for us to understand how it should work
and what happens
with Sean.
Yeah.
So Sean escapes, but he also takes the puzzle box with him. He then returns with his brother to search the house, but there's no trace of anything at this house. And that night he begins to be haunted by visions of Cenobites. Sean and Christine go to the coroner's office and find that a cell phone of one of the Perceptor's victims. So at the same time they're investigating victims of the Perceptor. Yeah. And they find that the Perceptor with this woman, he stored the phone in her body, recording her final location with a GPS. So it's kind of like he wants to almost be caught. And they find the Perceptor's hideout, where Sean reveals that he is the Perceptor. Yeah. He incapacitates Christine and reveals himself. David, meanwhile, has actually worked out that it's his brother by finding that he's highlighted Bible verses and stuff like that relating to the killings in a book at home. Not the best way to hide your crimes, is it?
No.
But he also finds from the coroner where they've gone. But when he gets there, Sean disarms David and reveals that he's holding his wife, Alison, hostage. And he found out that they had an affair, which is obviously breaking a commandment. He then forces David and Alison to open the box at gunpoint. Because he's aware, believing in the Bible and all that his crimes, someone is going to come from hell to collect his soul. Particularly after he escaped the first time. Yeah. And his plan is to offer Alison and David to Pinhead. Pinhead tells him, look, they'll be dealt with for opening the box, but you're a separate, but because a separate faction of hell wants you, there's no deal, basically. Yeah. So there's a lot of hell stuff going on here in regards to factions and who wants who and stuff like that. The auditor appears, telling Sean the Inquisition has found him guilty of his sins, but Jophiel intervenes again and protests the Pinhead and the auditor that Sean is part of Heaven's plan to instill fear into sinners, which is a kind of a cool touch.
Yeah, having the good and evil part shown, and
and that good isn't necessarily good either.
Yeah, that they have to have like the warning signs. So like
do bad and this is what happens.
Yeah, kind of like maybe like if people watch people skiing and they ski wrong and injure themselves as a warning. Behave. That's a wrong kind of example, but you have to have people doing things wrong.
There are consequences to actions.
Consequences, yeah.
From the eye of heaven.
Yeah.
If you believe in that sort of thing. So it's very much religious-based stuff. But Pinhead, kind of outraged and annoyed that he has to keep taking orders from an angel, actually arranged for Christine to kill Sean in revenge. And then just takes care of Jophiel. He kills Jophiel, rips her wings off. But that gets the eye of God, apparently.
Yep.
Oh, goodness me. And God expels Pinhead from hell and forces him to walk the earth as a mortal man. Which is a cool touch.
Yeah, because they make him an addict. Is he
he's like a bum, and he realizes So it's like
that's his hell. He's gonna have to live like that, and that's his own hell, which is fair point.
It's pretty cool. And then in a post-credits scene, a group of Mormon missionaries in Germany approach a house and are taken in by the Stygian Inquisition. So it will continue across the world, seemingly. Yeah, elements of this are really good. Elements of this are really pointless. The overarching story about a bad cop, we've done it. Yeah. We've seen it. Yeah. And I struggle very hard to believe that he would have been able to get away with what the crimes he was doing. Yeah. Particularly how blasé he is about it. You can say as a brother he may not have noticed and stuff like that. Fair enough. But this woman is brought in seemingly to investigate. Because they're doing a terrible job of finding it. Yeah. She's just as bad. Yeah. She is terrible at this. Also, this is what really bothered me more. This is a serial killer doing ritualistic murders on a regular. Yeah. And only 3 people. Originally, only 2 are on the case.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness me.
That's not as in films where, the FBI would be involved. It wouldn't be local. It'd be, worldwide, countrywide.
This would be everyone would be involved in this,
Yeah.
particularly a serial killer that does these things. Are you off your nut?
Yep.
That takes me a lot out of the movie. I found it very hard to believe because obviously the more people involved, the less likely his crimes wouldn't be, particularly if they're like, well, these detectives have been like doing a terrible job of it. Why?
There's other jobs. There's other jobs that have the whole corruption thing at their core. It's like quite a lot of jobs that deal with the public and, the well-being of people.
What if he was a judge?
Yeah.
And saw himself as a judge, which would be in line with the
being
balance of
judged
hell.
like a lawyer,
Yep. A lawyer?
Lawyer being good. I know he did done Devil's Advocate quite well, but yeah, he could have gone down that route, or like a doctor himself, helping some people from extra money, and he could have gone down a lot of different routes.
Also, it's a stretch, isn't it? Like, all right, your wife's having an affair with your brother. Okay, it's bad news. But like the serial killing stuff and that he's like biblical verses and all that, that's psychotic. That makes you a psychopath.
Yeah. You couldn't.
How?
Yeah. You couldn't switch that up on and off as well.
It's really, really, really stretching. So for us, I think you'd agree, that story, the story that's running through it, get in the bin.
Yeah.
However, the elements of Hellraiser and the new ideas introduced here are what makes this movie enjoyable for us. After, as you said, maybe watched in isolation, maybe not so good. But after what we did as we watched each movie one after the other and watched it collapse into itself from Dead Hellworld and then Revelations, this felt fucking phenomenal at the time. It's not a phenomenal movie. No. It's a good movie. But my God, did we need this?
We needed something. Yeah, because we sat through 10 films. I feel like that empty gesture of thoughts and prayers. They put that for us.
Yeah.
I was sitting through 10 films of it, and this was a bonus to finish on Judgment.
It was a bonus, it really was. The imagery is very clever. There's some good effects. You can tell it's low budget, but I think they work really, really well within the budget.
Considering
They've
things
got.
and stuff, yeah.
We've already praised Pinhead, but the other aspects of it, the other sort of Cenobites, not so much being like part of Pinhead's group and being part of this greater Inquisition kind of system was very, very cool. I liked a lot of that aspect. I really did. Truth be told, I'd like to see that aspect explored again.
Definitely.
Not just reverting back to the same stuff we got tired of over the last, how many decades?
God, it's
1987.
Yes, that's 4 decades.
Yeah.
80s, 90s, 2000, and now. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to go back to that. I'd like to see this explored more. Maybe with Barker actually involved to properly give his input. And there you go. Whew. There you go. There is the entire Hellraiser talk through. I think at the end, we're pretty much in tune with everything when it comes to like the series as a whole.
Yeah.
If you look at the films, top 3 then. Let's just choose top 3.
Okay. So, Hellbound. So for me, Hellraiser 2. I'd go for Judgment.
Yeah,
I'm welcome.
I'm agreeing almost.
You'd have the second one first.
The second one is first, then Hellraiser. Then I'm torn between Bloodline or Judgment. So I like a lot of Bloodline.
Yeah, you were saying before you like the.
There's the thing that I would put Bloodline, Inferno, Hellseeker, Judgment on roughly the same playing field.
Yeah.
Because they all have good elements that are enjoyable. So like middle of the road stuff where so that's a better way, right? Break them into 3 categories. The worst, the middle, the best.
Yeah.
The best, Hellraiser 2.
Yep.
Untouchable.
Yep.
The middle, Bloodline,
Yep.
Inferno,
Yep.
Hellseeker, Judgment.
Yep.
The worst,
Yep.
Deader,
Yep.
Hellraiser 3, Hellworld Revelations.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's really, really fair.
I've done a fair point on that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
But there you go. If you've got any thoughts that you want to share with us on this incredibly long talk through, let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl as well as Big Cartel where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?